Welcome to Nerdy Drunken Stoned. It's April 30th, 2020. My name is Adam. Once again, I'm joined by Michael and Jason. Hey guys, what have y'all been up to? Besides fucking killing savages in green hell.
No, those savages weren't real. Okay. It was just Mike going insane.
No, it was Mike making us go insane because it kept dying.
No, it's because he went insane and was killed. And then we, yes, as bystanders, also go insane.
I mean, I feel like we should explain a little bit of that backstory because there's definitely two very different accounts.
No, there are no accounts.
Just describe green hell real quick. Just describe green hell.
It's a co-op game on Steam. It is an open world survivor game type.
Co-op.
It's co-op, yeah. Well, they just added co-op. It used to just be single player, and I think they added co-op, which is why we played it. I don't want to say it's like Ark and like Rust. It shares similar features of those games, but I mean, it's not so big. Like, it's not massive multiplayer where like you're gonna get ganked and people are gonna steal your shit. It's just a co-op game where 3 or 4 of your friends can play in a jungle environment with like an in-depth crafting system and food systems, like, you know, what one of those type games. I mean, it's kind of like Don't Starve with good graphics. That's what I would call it.
I feel like it was. I've played Ark. I haven't played. I don't believe I played any other what I would call a survival sim, but this one was much more entertaining. But that's also probably because of the fact that it was co-op.
It's entertaining because I didn't know what the fuck was happening at first, and it's always hilarious when you're dying to rashes and diseases, and you're making light of it. It's very funny.
You randomly drop dead.
Yeah. And also, yeah, it's a co-op game, and I mean, I can play any co-op game, and I'm probably going to enjoy it. So
it was really, I mean, yeah, the first time I think I saw Jason die, he was slowly being stung to death by a spider.
Oh yeah,
he was being eaten by a spider.
No, look,
it was in a cavern. He fell down somehow.
I went to a cave. Dude, I was so pissed off because I killed a scorpion going in, and I was like, I'm safe. And so I took a nap. No, I passed out. I passed out of exhaustion while a spider just ate me.
He just slowly walked up to him, and like I kept swinging at the spider, and for some reason it wasn't killing it. It didn't start. My attacks didn't start landing until Jason was killed. I watched my friend get stung to death. And then he exploded into a bunch of items.
So, I was mad. I was just so pissed off. I actually wasn't doing so well. So when you lost your mind, yeah, I that's when I got pissed off.
I mean, it's the events that happened. We did come out on top of that one.
No, look.
We're doing decent right now. Our safe.
We're fine. We're doing
except. Decent. Decent is the best way to put it. And we spent probably 30 minutes nursing my ass.
No, Adam, the last 20 minutes, you were literally passing out. While
everywhere.
We were laughing so hard just watching your character. Like, you're standing and you just passed out. Come back, pass out. Dude, I was fucking dying. It was so funny, man.
Oh my god.
But no, we were doing very well, and then we had some savages outside of our camp, and you wanted to attack them, Mike, and you did. And then we
jumped headlong into 6 people.
Yep.
And then we all had fatal wounds, and then we died and bled out, and we did that like 3 times.
I didn't die. I actually survived that.
No, you went crazy, right? You died later of insanity though, like probably like 30 minutes later, because you were hanging out, and then it said you were killed by a puncture wound, and you thought you heard something. It happened to me because I made you go insane. That's what it was. Mike later on a respawn died of maybe the jaguar killed him again. He bled out, and then I went insane. And saw tribal people.
I kept dying because y'all died.
Yeah, I was eating all the mushrooms I could to try to get my sanity back. It didn't work, and then I died, which made you go insane. and then you are like, you're like, why'd I die? What happened? Yeah, it was a good time. It was a good time had by all.
That's
I so to be critical, because I'm critical of everything, I wish
Really?
that yeah, of course. I wish so I had a lot of fun in survival mode, but it's the same problem I have with problem. It's the problem that I have with games like Rust and Ark, and even like Don't Starve and shit. They're fun games, but if there is no like destination, it's always fun in the beginning, and then once you're set up, like you said, we're okay for right now.
Yeah,
We have
what's the point?
shelter.
What's
Yeah,
the point?
we can sleep, we can eat, we can survive. We can probably kill savages too. Like, that'll be okay. But yeah, so like, do we need to travel somewhere? Because if the game made us like, hey, look, you need to travel like 20 miles north through this jungle with like savages and animals and all this shit, then it's like, okay, like this has got to be tough. This is a real challenge. And if you had like a randomly generated map every time and say like, okay, here's the destination up here. This is where you got to get to in your game. That could be a lot of fun as a co-op game to me. But my problem becomes like, yes, I had a lot of fun learning the mechanics and like fucking around and like dying. And, we all had a laugh, but at some point it becomes like, okay, so now what do you do? And if the goal is just to survive, that kind of turns me off. I wish the single player game had co-op added to it and us three could go through like the campaign, because to me it's like, cool, we have to actually get here and like escape from the jungle. That's a cool little scenario, and that's a scenario I would be willing to do multiple times, like with a randomly generated map. Even not a randomly generated map, I had enough fun with that game that I could play through it enough times. But I don't know, maybe it'd be fun like restarting from scratch and seeing like if you could survive real fast. I don't know. It was very fun. Don't get me wrong. I do like objectives in my games though.
right now, where we've been kind of going is we're basically going to more fertile grounds.
Yeah,
Where
yeah.
survivability, there's more opportunities for survivability.
Yeah.
And we are like halfway from worst to best survival area. And that's kind of where things get more challenging, where you have to set up defenses because you're going to get raided by savages. It becomes it's very much it I don't know, it's very interesting, that I think you'll enjoy the single player a lot if that's where a lot of your interest in the game is, because
But see, I like the co-op aspect. That's why I played it. Like I probably would not go and play the single player by myself. I might. It's a fun enough game that maybe I would go do that actually, but
it's
I
fun.
would so much more want to do it with, I'm just a big fan of co-op games. And
Right.
anytime I can play a game with a friend, man, like that makes the game 1,000 times more enjoyable.
Oh, definitely.
Oh, it was definitely, it was so much fun because we were all playing together. And I think what Jason's getting at is if it was sort of structured in a way that, say, it's a Lost-esque, you crashed, landed on this island, and there is some sort of journey that you have to go along. It's survival while also having a plot.
A purpose, yeah. You don't even need a plot. It's just a purpose. Like, okay, I know this is gonna be. There's some end point. It's not just like I say. I hate to compare it to Ark and Rust because it is not those games. But those are games like without an end point. Like just build shit and just do whatever. And this game has a survival mode, which is what we were playing. And yes, like the shenanigans of it is very fun with your friends. Absolutely. I would play it again right now with you guys. But I feel like to increase
awesome.
longevity, I would definitely need like goal orientated objectives of some kind. I hate to bring up Mountain Blade because I bring it up every week, but it's that same type of game where it starts off very nebulous. You can do all these things, become a vassal, trade, be a raider. You can start your game however you want, and it's very open. But ultimately, the goal of that game is to like control the entire map. You know, you can do it 100 different ways, but you're always going to, whether you're working for a king or you're working on your own, the goal is like it's going to take you 80 hours, 50 hours to do this, but you'll hit that fucking finish line at some point, you know. And
it's always about replayability.
yeah, and that's maybe it's just a personal gripe of mine. I know that you've put like 100+ hours into this game, Mike. So clearly you just love, I guess, the aspect of like it's a very realistic game.
I
You
enjoy
know,
the challenge because I mean, typically I've been playing by myself because it hasn't had a co-op functionality to it until recently. My appeal was I enjoyed the challenge of surviving on my own. Like, you know, it and in a hyper realistic game like that, I felt like that was the closest thing that I could get without actually jeopardizing my life, and so you know, it's compromising myself in a real survival situation.
I would say I was thinking about that while we were actually playing it. I was like, wow, like this game must be so much tougher playing by yourself. Like, don't get me wrong, we have to scavenge for 3 people. So you need a lot more like food and resources. But anytime you come across a challenge like of savages or wildlife, you have like, hey guys, get the fuck over here. Like there's a guy singing in the bushes. We got to take him out. Like where if it's just you, it's like, how the fuck am I supposed to kill these dudes? Like
That part was so much more fun for me than whenever you're playing Ark and you're trying to scavenge and build things by yourself, and you run into wildlife or whatever it is, and you die, and you're like, "Fuck!" But when you have actually a team, it is, and they can actually you can revive one another. If you pass out, at least that part was much more enjoyable. Made it much more enjoyable as a survival game.
as Mike pointed out last night, I guess there's a difficulty that we weren't playing on, which is the green hell difficulty, where I guess it's more along the lines of Ark and stuff, where like it's a roguelike. Like if you die, you're just dead.
Dead is dead.
Yeah.
That could be pretty fun, like to fuck around with. I would think like that would be an interesting aspect. So I don't know. I had a lot of fun with it. Honestly, it was way more. I was going into it. I was like, oh my god, like I got to play this fucking game.
I haven't laughed that hard in a while.
Yeah, and within like 30 minutes, I was fucking loving it. I was like, yeah, this is fucking great.
Adam was laughing so hard he was falling over in the game, just over and over.
Constantly. He was a little baby. Mama bird had to bring him the food, but it's okay.
I'm sorry, allowed to take care of me, but eventually I got back to. I was healthy, and then Mike decided to just jump into a full-out assault.
I mean, we had the element of surprise, boys. So, you know.
Yeah, that worked out really well. 6v3. Yeah.
Oh god.
I do believe the game ends if all 3 of us do die.
At the same time, I was wondering that if we were just all dead, like if we got
So,
wiped out by something.
What is it? TPK, total party kill?
Yes.
I don't know that term, but yes. All I know is we all did bleed out. Me and Mike definitely bled out from our wounds. I don't know. I guess Adam was fine.
He was passed out somewhere, probably.
Yeah, he was trying to figure out how to build shelters still during that whole situation.
I'm sorry that I was trying to establish a settlement while y'all were off fighting people you didn't need to fight.
That was all Mike's fault.
And getting killed by spiders.
That was my fault. I can't help that I was passing out from exhaustion. Okay. You didn't scavenge for shit, so I don't want to hear it. Anyway, what was I gonna say? Oh, do you guys ever play The Last of Us by chance?
Of course.
Okay. Mike, did you ever play that game?
I've seen a bunch of it. I haven't played it though.
Okay.
It
You
was
know,
a
just to
masterpiece.
a mild point of discussion is, you know, that the spoilers leaked for the second game. Like the whole plot is basically online. Like the cinematics a lot of the cinematics and like the big plot points all leaked earlier this week.
Mhm.
I saw posts about it,
Yeah,
but I did not realize that was why.
Yeah, it's all out
And
there.
I'm definitely not going to read or watch any of it.
So what's funny about that is it went from like, so you know, with the whole COVID stuff, they had a release date and then it was delayed indefinitely. And as of like 2 days ago, they're like, okay, the release date is May. I think it or what are we, April? Yeah, I think it's coming out in May.
Yeah, May 1st is tomorrow.
Yeah, I think it's coming out late May or something, and they said no, it's coming out now, and I feel like that's I really feel like it's a direct reaction. Yeah,
because everything leaked.
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway, you know, whether we're not going to talk about the spoilers clearly because that game is not even out yet, and yeah, I mean, from some of the stuff that I've seen, like it's heavy stuff. So,
I mean, it's a heavy game. It's
yeah,
a good game.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. The first one is an incredible game. Yeah. So now the release date is May. Oh, it's May 29th. Okay. So yeah, and there's mixed stories about why it got leaked. Some people would have said it's like pay disputes within the company. Other people even want to say political motivation, whatever. I mean, be it as it may, it's
There are
crazy.
conspiracies about
Yeah,
employees within the company wanting it to be
because
put
clearly
out
that's
sooner.
Yeah, clearly that's where it got leaked. Like you don't get full cinematics, you know, of the entire game. Like from just
It's gotta be
some
somebody.
Joe. Yeah, it's somebody inside. But I just think that's crazy. Like, especially a game that big, that's literally like a plot heavy game. Being spoiled like that, that's crazy to me, man. I can't even relate it to anything.
Yeah, but how many of these quote unquote leaks are actually leaks as opposed to like I question how many leaks are actually just the company
Like trying
it.
to build hype.
Yes.
Who is it? What?
I need to explain to you without telling you
that?
anything that it spoils the entire fucking game. If you're looking for these spoilers, you can know what happens from beginning to end. You can know who lives, who dies, what is happening in the game. Like all of this is out there.
But Last of Us is one of the only games that I believe that I watched the majority, not all, but the majority of it on Twitch, other people playing it before I even bought it. And it was such a good watch, and it felt like you were watching a film that I then also still bought it and played through it myself. That's how good the original was. So I can only imagine.
It was a game. What I'll say to your credit is like it was a game that I knew going in. I think I knew the entire plot of the game going in. And even after I hit like the credits screen, I was just like blown away. I was like, I knew everything that was going to happen. And it was still like so impactful to me. Like it didn't even matter that I knew the plot.
I would watch it when it was released, and you would watch it for a few hours. Say you put Twitch on before you go to bed, and then you wake up and you have some free time, or the next night because you don't have the game yet, you find the closest streamer that was where you left off. Yeah. And I did that, I think, for the majority of it. And I then went out and bought the game still and played it through, and all of it, watching it, playing it, everything.
Yeah, it
was incredible. It's a masterpiece.
Even the stealth elements in the game are quite well done. I mean, it's a good game. I can't think of another like big AAA game that's so like. There's not really any games like there are games like The Last of Us that are story heavy, but none that get leaked like months out from, you know what I mean? Like and not just like plot points. Plots have been released, but for like gameplay and cinematics to come online, like to me that's ridiculous. Like
I think that's possibly a
someone's
possibly
getting in trouble.
Yeah, but that's possibly a first ever.
Yeah, yeah. I'm sure. I think like films have been leaked, but in terms of like
Yeah,
games,
games.
yeah, no, I couldn't think. I couldn't tell you. There have been game plots that leaked early, and maybe like games that came out a week early in other regions that have been spoiled.
Yeah.
But nothing like the game has no release date, and one day it's like, here's the whole game. It's all online. Like here are the big plot moments. Literally, you can watch them, so you know they're not being made up. Like, anyway, I'm still gonna buy that game, but I just thought that was hot news. Fucking pretty crazy.
Oh, I'll buy it. I'll buy it day one for sure.
Yeah, I'm still buying it day one. Absolutely, 100%. I'll probably still be sad. I know some spoilers. I'll still be sad. It doesn't matter. Or maybe I'll be happy. Who
This
knows
is
what
why
the
you spend
spoilers say?
you spend too much time on Fortune, Jason.
The internet in
I
general.
guarantee you that's
Yeah.
where you found that.
I put the nerd in nerdy. So actually, I saw it on Discord first, and immediately after I saw it on Discord, I said, what are they talking about?" And then I clicked on 4chan. I said, it was all 4chan was talking about. Like I was like, oh my god, it's true. Fuck.
Of course it was.
Uh,
That's why I stay away.
Now I gotta
Yeah.
unbookmark that website.
yeah. Right. Yeah. You can't get your porn from there. Sorry.
Have y'all
Oh,
watched anything this week?
I played a little bit of Alien Isolation. Actually, it was $2 a few days ago. They did like a flash sale, and I bought it on Mike's recommendation.
I'm so
Refresh
mad
my
I
memory.
missed
What
it.
is it?
It's based on Alien, like the franchise Alien. You play as Ripley's
Obviously,
daughter.
but
I don't know. You dock on a space station and you're trying to figure out what's going on, and there's an alien killing people. It's like a horror atmospheric game. It's very well done. I enjoy like the art direction the game takes, but I'm having a hard time getting into it, honestly. Like
can you compare it to anything?
I mean any kind of like horror survival game where you have to hide a lot. I wouldn't say it's like Silent Hill or Resident Evil. It's more like
About Slender
oh,
Man?
yeah. I mean, Slender Man's a bad comparison, but yes, like you can't fight your enemies head on. Like you have to hide. So I
Yeah,
mean,
so that's semi at least Slender Man.
yeah, people.
Because
Oh,
the idea is
Amnesia. I
oh,
compare it to
boy.
Amnesia a lot.
Oh, Amnesia. Okay.
Yeah. Where like there, you can do some things to get away from the enemy, but a lot of people like that gameplay. I don't know. It's kind of tough to me. I feel like that gameplay is like learning the AI loop and then just exploiting it, like figuring out how do I hide from these things, and then just continuing on the game.
Jason just gave you the blueprint to defeat every thriller game. You
Yeah,
just
right.
figure out the boss, and then you're good.
Actually, this is a true statement. I've told people this. What you do in a game you're scared of, so if the alien is scary to you, if you're playing Silent Hill and these enemies are scary, what you do is you just run in and you fucking die like 10 times, because once you lose the fear of like dying to the unknown, you're just like, oh, whatever. Like, who gives a shit that he's chasing me? Like, I already know what's going to happen.
Now it's a boss fight.
Yeah, now it's just an enemy, but it's like the unknown enemy that's scary in those games. Once you know what he looks like, you're like, oh yeah, he's just gonna tear my head off. Who gives a shit? Like,
Yeah, I mean, you could say it just kind of looks like Ronald McDonald, on a bad day.
yeah, exactly. But if it has ripped your head off 10 times, you're fine. Like, it ain't a problem.
Ronald McDonald did too much meth, and now he's got jagged teeth and wants to eat you.
But I'm sorry, that was my video game tangent. Movies.
But have y'all watched anything?
I don't.
I've been watching just Community this past week, because instead of doing the whole same loop of watching The Office 100 times, which
Yes.
I have no idea how many times I've seen it now through.
The normie loop. Yes.
Oh,
You gotta watch The Office and Friends. That's what you cycle back to back.
Oh,
back to
man.
back.
I've started going back through Community, and man, I forgot how good of a show that was.
So I never watched it, but to my understanding, the first couple of seasons are like top notch, like great. And then I think it drops off. Again, this is just from what I've read. It drops off in the later season, maybe the last season. I
Um,
don't know.
I've only made it to season 3 of 6, and it was years ago whenever I watched it, and this is only the second time I've seen it, but whenever I saw the credit cards for the first bit and it said Dan Harmon and the Russo brothers, I was like, wait. So
The guys from Rick and
this is
Morty
Rick and Morty
Endgame.
and Avengers Infinity War and Endgame. I was like,
Damn.
wow.
Yeah,
Wow.
I knew Dan worked on it. I knew he did Community before he went on to do Rick and Morty. I wasn't aware that the Russo brothers were involved at all. But
Yeah. It is an extremely impressive production team that worked on it. And you have some episodes because I mean it's just I'm not gonna say it is similar to The Office. It's a episodic comedy show, whatever, but you do have episodes that are incredibly detailed, and it's still a comedy, which is very Rick and Morty, which is you have that Dan Harmon feel to it.
it's a well written comedy with a plot, I guess that you would say. A plot more so than say like The Office. The Office is a very loose plot. There are arcs that characters take, but they're drawn out. Where I guess this is more of like, things actually matter to these.
And the character progression is much quicker. It's not, oh, you have a full season and in 20 episodes 4 of them actually matter.
Would you call it like, is it a comma dramedy or like
comedic drama is what you're trying to say?
Yeah, sorry. Yeah, drama comedy.
Yeah, almost. I definitely wouldn't call it a straight comedy. It's not it's not all for laughs. Like the story matters. But rewatching that has been part of my COVID quarantine rediscovering that show and watching it again has been a whole lot of fun.
It won 1 Emmy. But I mean, I know people talk about it with, high esteem. So
to me, it was always overshadowed by Parks and Rec. Like I always, because I never watched Community because I thought it was kind of like, well, I can just watch Parks and Rec instead. Which I didn't even like that show that much either.
I enjoyed Parks and Rec. It was good.
Yeah.
You didn't like Parks and Rec?
No, I would.
Or you thought it was overrated?
In pecking order, I would put like as far as enjoyment, I would put The Office, Parks and Rec, and then Community. It's just they were both in similar times that those shows came out. Parks and Rec and Community, that it just seemed like completely superior to Community. Parks and Rec was.
I mean, they were definitely talked about more. Like they were more popular shows, but I always thought Community got a ton of praise. Like I never heard anyone say anything bad about Community.
Right.
So where like people talk about Parks and Rec, and it's kind of like, I like the first season, honestly, and I like the first season of The Office too. But I feel like a lot of people tell you, "Oh, the first season isn't that great," But
The Office.
Yeah, I love the first season. I mean,
but the
it's
first season itself isn't bad, but
it's because it's the blueprint.
Michael Scott is rough in the first season.
It's because he's based on his British counterpart, But
and then they definitely
get into their own flow. Yeah,
they definitely shifted and decided to go a different direction.
We actually have been watching a little bit of this show, Party Down. It only had 2 seasons on Stars back in 2010. The only reason I bring it up is because Adam Scott is a lead character in the show, and a lot of speculation about why the show was canceled was when they were trying to get renewed for a third season. Adam Scott left to go to Parks and Rec. So
Adam Scott is
he's Leslie Knope's boyfriend in the show.
Oh, okay, yeah.
Yeah, I'm trying to use the characters' names. I can't remember what Adam Scott's character's name is. Ben Wyatt.
Ben.
So,
Yeah.
So yeah, he actually went on Parks and Rec, and then that show got canceled. And everyone loves Adam Scott in Parks and Rec. So
Parks and Rec. It is a fortuitous evening to even discuss that because they're actually having a what would you call it, a reunion episode this evening is airing.
Yeah, I heard about that.
Oh no.
Well,
none of us have seen it, so we don't know.
I know, but
it could be good.
It's like all the Office
possible.
People, all the Office people
the
have
Office
podcasts now.
Yeah, but if The Office had a reunion episode,
yeah,
you better believe. First of all, the ratings would be through the roof, and I would be patiently waiting for it to start. It would be that huge. So
what do you think would be bigger? An Office reunion, like whether it be a short season or just a one-off? Or do you think
there would only be a one-off?
Okay, so it wouldn't be like a 6-episode season, you don't think? You don't think you could get away with that?
I think the best thing you would get would be probably a 2-hour special.
Okay. Do you think that would be more popular, or do you think a Friends reunion would be more popular? Mike's like
I would have to ask the executives at Netflix because they're the ones that have.
Did you not watch Friends?
Friends
Mike?
is universal,
the analytics,
man. Like as far as like our generation, like I think
I'm
one of the few people that didn't enjoy Friends.
I did not watch Friends.
That leaves
you
the
didn't
rest.
Enjoy it?
That leaves like the other 99% of the kids that I went to high school with that did enjoy Friends. Like I think by far, Friends would
beat out. Yeah, definitely. Don't get me wrong. People love The Office, and that would be big numbers. But yeah, Friends is kind of like the only sitcom that can go toe to toe with, say, like Seinfeld. Like there's like the big hitters, and then there's kind of like Big Bang Theory and like The Office.
To a degree, I feel as if it's an age you have. Because it is timeline. It is a timeline. Let's say you have it's even fucking Cheers.
Yeah.
Seinfeld, Friends, The Office.
And then I guess Big Bang. Big Bang's right in there with The Office.
A new challenger approaches.
So my point is,
Frasier.
I hate
as they get older, it also depends what platform these things are being put on.
And unfortunately, if you want a Friends reunion, you're about to get 50-year-olds on that screen, man. It's not gonna be what you think, like, oh, they gotta be living it up in New York City. Like, nah, dude.
I don't know how. I really do not. I can't imagine. Because I watched all of Friends, and I cannot imagine how you do that reunion special. But I will say that Friends still had, and The Office. No, Friends. I think the Friends.
No,
finale,
Friends.
The Friends finale was better. The Friends finale was better because the whole placing the keys on the counter.
See, I don't remember any of this shit.
And then leaving. I saw it maybe 10 years ago, and it still burns my memory.
I know they all hugged, and they walked out the door all hugging and shit. I don't know.
But see, Friends...
putting the keys down one at a time and then walking out.
Me and Jason were talking earlier about shows that set the bar for TV shows that we see today. And I feel like that Friends model, even though it's not... You can still kind of see it in some modern shows today. Like they steal
Yeah.
little aspects of it.
I
Like
think Big Bang.
I mean, Big Bang. What like Big Bang is like an offshoot of
I
Friends in the way it's styled.
feel like Big
No,
Bang is more
I was saying that
cultish
Big
than
Bang.
anything. Like there's a cult following for Big Bang because it's you either like that show or you hate that show.
Yeah, I feel like Big Bang has an older audience. Like because I don't know who's watching this shit.
I'm not
So,
watching
like,
Big Bang.
Yeah,
It's
I
not
don't
me.
watch Big Bang. Adams, put your hand down. Your hand is doing. You're stroking out. You're doing this thing where you're pointing at yourself. I don't. I don't think. I don't think you actually mean that you're watching Big Bang Theory, right? It's not. No,
I'm
you
on the.
aren't.
I am on the last season. That's all I'm saying.
Oh man, but you didn't watch it when it was airing, right? That's what you. So you're going back and watching it.
No, I watched it while I was airing, and then I stopped.
All right, that's it for this week, guys.
Yeah, see you later.
Oh, this disappointment.
Yeah,
It's just
sorry.
that kind of comedy is like again kind of very reminds me of Rick and Morty. It's like a live action Rick and Morty type comedy, which
I would say it feels more manufactured. Like
yeah.
Friends and Seinfeld and Frasier and Cheers and even The Office, all these things that you just named, they don't rely. Yes, there are like cultural references and pop culture that is thrown in, but a lot of the comedy comes from the writing and situational comedy. It's funny because maybe we've all locked our keys in our car. Maybe we've all had to move a couch up the stairs. Like that's why these are so good. Big Bang, I feel like a lot of their comedic value comes from references. Like and to give Mike credit, yeah, that's what Rick and Morty does a lot too. Like
What I think.
they rely on, oh, I know what that is. Ha ha ha. That's funny. They said a Marvel movie. I've seen Marvel movies. Ha ha ha.
It,
10 out of 10.
I enjoy Big Bang, and I could even say the best comparison or the best mixture I could come up with is it's a Two and a Half Men mixed with nerd jokes, which isn't great praise.
Okay.
It's not. That's not high praise at all, and I'm not calling it high bar television, but
It is network TV. So.
it's network TV. I find it entertaining. And of course, I enjoy the whole here's a Marvel joke, here's a comic book joke, whatever. Yeah.
I mean, that definitely that appeals to people. I mean, look at the ratings. You know what I mean? Like people like that. So
I
know it's not great TV, but I still find it entertaining.
See, for me, when I'm trying to get that's why I enjoy Kevin Smith so much, is I feel like the way he serves up those kind of jokes or that kind of entertainment is very well done. Even in the way
It's a higher quality.
Yeah, even the way the dialogue between his characters will argue about superheroes and stuff like that. That's why I would go for that.
To reel it all back again, maybe Kevin Smith's writing is. I feel like when I think of Community, that's kind of what it reminds me of. It's like well-written characters with these big overarching jokes that aren't so in your face, but if you're paying attention, there's a lot of payoffs to these jokes, that stretch so well. And again, that's something Kevin Smith does very well. If you pay attention to his films, they're very funny because you have big payoffs that come out, at the end of all these movies. So
yeah, you don't necessarily have to pay attention to every episode, but there are certain little details that are very important. And
yeah, you'll miss it if you're not watching. So
just today, me and Emily was working and I had Community on, and I had watched further than her last night, but I needed to click back because it was the timeline split off episode. I don't know if y'all know which one that is.
I don't know. That's
Community? Yeah, where Troy and Abed
for a second.
Yeah, right?
No, Troy and Abed move into the apartment, and
That's the end to Final Fantasy VII Remake, right?
No, Troy and Abed move into an apartment, and a pizza guy shows up, and a dice is flipped, and Abed, being Abed, says, "Just to let you know, you're making multiple different timelines."
It's a Schrodinger's
And then they
cat thing.
and then they go through these multiple timelines. The reason that episode is important, though, is because they make a joke about the darkest timeline. And then moving forward, spoilers for a super old show, there are several episodes where the darkest timeline characters start showing up.
Okay.
So it's those little...
Oh, it comes back. I see
Yeah,
what you're saying.
it's
a good
those...
payoff, yeah.
It's those little payoffs that...
It's yesterday's
it's
Enterprise.
a silly
is what
silly
it is.
episode, and 2 years later, oh my god, there's the dark timeline of this character, whatever. You know what I mean?
Yeah, yeah. Like,
But that's Dan Harmon.
Yeah, I was about to say what you literally just described as. It sounds very Rick and Morty-ish. So, there are shows that can get away with that shit. So I said yesterday's Enterprise to reference the next gen,
Which
where they kind of.
I have to say, very nice pull.
Yeah,
Very
thank you.
nice
Well,
pull.
that's
Explain. What do you mean?
Me and my brother were talking about to Mike. I'm sorry, Mike. I'll apologize. We were talking about the end of Final Fantasy VII Remake, and he compared it to yesterday's Enterprise, where the episode is just about they go through a time rift and things are different, but the characters don't know that anything has changed. Everything does change, and you as the audience, like, wow, look, they had different uniforms. These people aren't here. They've been replaced by these people. But the characters, they are not aware of any change because nothing changed for them, But one character in the episode is like, hey, she comes to Picard and she's like, hey, look, this isn't right. Like, you have to, like, go and destroy this ship because this shit isn't supposed to happen. Like, and she can't explain why. And again, he was comparing it to Aerith in, like, Final Fantasy VII, saying how, like, look, when we go through this portal, we're not just going to change, like, the future. We're going to change ourselves. And he was referencing it like you see Zach living. And he was like, so how do we know that Zach or, like, Cloud isn't going to become a completely different character because Zach lived and he didn't think he was Zach, but he'll never know the difference. Like, the character of Cloud will just be a different character, but he won't know any better because the timeline has changed. That's why he was referencing.
Cloud turns into Sephiroth.
Yeah, or whatever. Yeah, or whatever. Characters turn out majorly different because, they didn't just change the timeline. They changed themselves in the process. Again, shout out to yesterday's Enterprise.
How would you feel if Cloud died in the end?
I think it's going to happen. I think he's dying in part 2. So I think he's dying in part 2, and we're going to have, like, a female-led part 3, or maybe like a Zach-led part 3. I think it could happen. I really do. I think if they wrote it right, it would be.
I could see Zach, but unless you introduce a new character, I don't know.
Who gives a shit? You're gonna introduce Zach in part 2 and then kill him? No one's gonna care.
No. I meant I could see a Zach-led part 3.
Oh,
but I don't know how you could have a female-led part 3 unless it was a new character because.
But they built up Tifa and Aerith, like, really big in this one, so. You spend a whole nother game with them. And
no, but you're gonna. If you could choose between which one you wanted to play as, but you're gonna force the characters because.
Oh yeah, maybe it's like through your decisions. Maybe, like, Zach or Cloud could die depending on what they do with the story. Yeah,
I'm just saying, even as if you're going to have a, if you were going to have a female-led part 3. Are you going to force Tifa or Aerith on someone, or do you get to pick? Because that's kind of always been.
Oh, one of them would take the lead in part 3. You could even pull, like, a Chrono Trigger, and maybe part 3 would be about trying to, like, change fate again to bring Cloud back and all the repercussions that would come from that. Like, hey, look, we want to bring Cloud back, but bringing Cloud back would result in, like, fucking all these bad things happening, is it worth it kind of thing. You pull an in game, you know? Fuck. Time travel, it's bullshit.
I don't know. I'm just saying I would not be okay with having to play as Aerith
Really?
as my main character. Tifa, she's a fighter. That's fine.
Sure. So you just make Tifa the main character. I mean, I think it would be an interesting experiment. The original game still exists. So,
You gave me an interesting idea though, Jason. What if they made a game like how like I just beat Batman Arkham Knight a couple days ago, finally.
Okay.
You know how some games have DLCs, like complete DLC storylines that you can add on?
Yeah.
What if they ever made a Sephiroth DLC game that they added on where you get to play a little bit through as Sephiroth?
Like
His own
as a
story.
as a villain or as
Yeah,
a
as a villain.
backstory?
As a villain.
That would be
I mean,
hard.
people
That
would
would be
buy
so
it.
hard.
People would play it. I mean, there's no doubt that people look any DLC that
To
they
make
put
it
out for
good.
this game,
To make
people
it
are
good
gonna
would be
buy it.
hard.
I
But
mean,
it's always that problem of can you have serious plot points in a DLC, because I guess you're running the risk of like people that bought your game not buying that DLC, and then when your next part comes out, they're not going to understand like 'cause they didn't play the DLC.
all right, well, let's take a step further then. What if there was a spin-off game called Sephiroth, where you get to play as the good Sephiroth in the beginning, and then you
That's called
slowly
Crisis
become
Core.
evil?
It already exists. It's Crisis Core. It's for PSP. Go buy
Yeah,
it.
and it's also called a money grab.
Yeah, exactly. I think the fan base would see it as like a cheap. Don't get me wrong. People are
Final
gonna buy it.
Fantasy, a money grab.
People
Man.
watch. Yeah, people watch The Big Bang Theory, so they gotta buy the Sephiroth game. I have no doubt.
I might buy it still, but I would know it's a money grab and that it's not going to be Final Fantasy VII.
Yeah, exactly. They made the Dirge of Cerberus. They made Crisis Core. There's a reason why like all these games kind of get forgotten in the annals of time because
They're
think
not
people-
great.
yeah, they're not mainline installments. Yeah, you play as Zack when Sephiroth was good. Sure. But does that add to Final Fantasy VII? You know, like not really. You know, we already knew that Sephiroth, like you're not giving me anything new. We knew Sephiroth was good at one point and then he turned bad. They touch on that in the main game. So all you're doing is you're going and you're fleshing out like a minor detail that isn't so important to the story. So I don't know.
So I watched Community. Did y'all watch anything or no?
Like I said, we've watched a couple episodes of Party
Waco.
Down.
Did we talk
We did
about
Waco last week.
We talked
last
about a little bit of Waco. Yeah, I haven't watched any of it. We've been meaning to watch. Oh shit, what movie is it? It's the Korean film, I think. You talked about it.
the Parasite.
Parasite. It is Korean, right?
Yeah, and I'm
Yeah.
guessing you still haven't watched The Boys yet, have you, Jason?
Yeah, I watched it all. It was really good. Okay, so moving on. No, I didn't watch The Boys. I'm sorry. I'll probably watch Parasite before I watch The Boys. Honestly.
I have been watching some new TV or some new movies that I've been well, not really new, but I've been meaning to catch up on. Dark Phoenix was pretty solid. It was surprising how horrible it did.
So you guys both saw Dark Phoenix, right?
Yes.
Yeah. So see, I haven't seen it, so I'll just like throw in little facts about the movie.
Severely underrated in my opinion.
23% on Rotten Tomatoes.
That's absurd.
Out of all the Fox Marvel movies that were made, I would say this one's pretty high up there as far as enjoyment. It didn't seem as ridiculous as like some of the previous things of like when.
So my question would be, have you seen all of the new trilogy, like First Class and Days of Future Past? Did you see those two?
Yeah, the only I saw everything except for the one with the Doctor Ooze guy.
Those are the wait. Oh shit, they did make
no X-Men Apocalypse.
Yeah.
There's 4 of them. Yeah, there's Apocalypse.
Apocalypse is heads and shoulders worse than Dark Phoenix.
Okay.
mainly just because of how badly they ruined Apocalypse.
I think they were betting everything on Olivia Munn playing Psylocke.
Are you serious? Olivia Munn?
No,
Dude,
they weren't. She wasn't in.
she's
She
never
wasn't
been
in the
top
film that
billed.
much.
Yeah, and she's never been top billed in fucking anything. Like, I know who Olivia Munn is
She was
because
pretty.
I know who Aaron Rodgers is. Okay.
She was pretty popular, or she had a pretty prominent character in Newsweek on HBO, which
What were the ratings? Look, I know what Newsweek is.
What was
so
it? What was?
I'm not gonna shit on it. It's a fantastic show. But all I'm saying is, like, the general populace doesn't know. They won't even know what Newsweek is. You know, you got to give me that.
I'm pretty sure if you go
they
into
should know what it is.
They typically have that playing in GameStop. Well, they used to. when
Newsweek?
I think so.
No, it was an HBO like political news. No,
Is
it
that
was
a gamer
news.
show? Oh, I must be
No,
thinking
it was
something
a
else.
Fox. It was basically a
It
Aaron
has,
Sorkin
who did the West Wing?
dramatization. Yeah.
Oh wow.
Aaron
Yeah.
Sorkin,
Okay.
who did The West Wing, and The West Wing is also a fucking incredible show.
Okay.
Aaron Sorkin's version of what Fox News probably looks like behind the scenes. That's what Newsweek was. If Bill O'Reilly suddenly grew a conscience, was kind of the premise.
This is the only thing I know about Newsweek, and it's probably what most people know about Newsweek, which is it is the show, I think, in the first episode where the guy is
It's the first fucking scene.
The guy is getting questioned in the college about, oh, is America the greatest country? And he's like,
No,
America's
America's
the greatest
not the country in the
and
world.
you see it reposted on every fucking watch these 3 minutes to really understand what's wrong with our nation or some shit like that. And I'm like, yeah, it's from Newsweek. It's a good show. I never watched it, but I'm
You
sure
should
it's well
watch
written
it.
and well acted.
It's
How many
extremely
seasons
well
are there?
written.
Too
I don't know
many.
off the top of my head. No, it wasn't a whole lot. It was maybe 4 or 5.
Yeah, because the West Wing has like 9 seasons, right? They have a fuckload in the West.
Yeah,
gosh.
The West Wing is a long show.
Yeah,
Whenever you whenever you tell someone you should watch The West Wing, that's a time investment. But Newsweek,
That's the one at the end. Martin
only
Sheen
had a
gets
handful?
thrown off. He gets thrown off the building, right? That's the show. They throw him off the building, and then no. Okay,
There's
that was
another reason not to watch that. There we go.
they throw him off the building. Oh,
that was a joke about another movie. I'm sorry.
must be a movie I haven't seen.
The
You
Hurt-
have
the
seen it.
Hurt
It's called The Departed. God damn it. The
Ah.
Departed. You watched The Departed, right?
Okay,
Yeah. Yeah. Anyway,
that's a.
they throw him off a building. That's what happens in The Departed.
Yeah, I know. It's just the weird crossover. Whatever.
The other thing that I've been watching, or that I really enjoyed, was Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
Yeah, let's talk about that.
That was fantastic. Oh
Dude,
my
that is
goodness.
such a good movie, man. What? Did you watch it, Adam? Are you making fart sounds with your mouth?
Still haven't.
You haven't seen it?
No.
Oh. I mean, you know what it's about, right? Can we talk about this?
No, you can talk about it. I know
Do you know what it's about? Give me the plot. Tell me the plot, Adam.
I know the
don't know
general
anything about
idea. I know the general concept.
So tell me about Once Upon a Time in Hollywood. Tell me.
No, because I don't want to be wrong.
No, that's fine. You can be wrong. You haven't seen the film, so that's fine. So just tell me what you know, so I know what we can talk about.
Leonardo DiCaprio is, is he the lead actor or?
He's an actor, yes.
And then you have Brad Pitt as the stuntman.
Correct.
You're doing good.
You're doing good.
You are.
We're gonna walk you through this slowly.
No, I just want to know what you. So I went into it not knowing. That's literally what you just said is what I knew going into it. So things that happened were pretty like surprising to me.
The little bit that I did see and have seen is basically a play on old school Hollywood
Yeah. Okay.
and how people used to behave. We have lead actors, how they behaved, stuntmen, who they thought they were, etc.
Yeah, it's a, to sound cliche, it is a love letter to old Hollywood. That is what it is.
Yeah, that's why it's so aptly named Once Upon a Time in Hollywood.
But the thing that me and Mike want to discuss is the last 15 minutes of the film.
Yeah, which
because
I
it's
have not seen, but
ridiculous.
Oh
once
my
again,
gosh.
It's so good. It's so like cathartic. And,
Yes,
like,
cathartic is the perfect word. It's the perfect word.
there's never been a display of graphic violence that is just so like, oh, this is fine.
Yeah,
graphic
yeah.
violence
Yeah.
in a
And
Tarantino,
film, you know, but
That's- that's
it's-
never heard of.
That's typically
It's-
why I dislike Quentin Tarantino films, because they're so
Really?
over the top. Like
Yeah.
Sin City, it has its merits of being an enjoyable movie, but everything's over the top. Like every Quentin Tarantino movie that I've seen, I'm just like, wow, that was unnecessary. Like I internally say that often when I'm watching his movies.
But he's very reserved in this film. He's reserved for
Yeah,
like
let's put
2
it back.
hours and 30 minutes. And then he's like, okay, here we go. Like, here's some violence.
Yeah.
And it's very, I mean, it's tasteful as it can be.
Oh yes.
As
Tarantino
tasteful
violence.
as tasteful as smashing someone's face on a fireplace mantle can be.
It is like watching Mozart write music. Let me tell you.
And it's so like, and you know what I'm referring to, Mike. It gets to the point where it's almost like comedic. Like you are watching horrific violence, yet you are like laughing. You're laughing, and you're like, it's so strange how a director can make you like build up to this moment, and then when it happens, where you should be like gasping and being like, you know, oh my god, like you are literally like trying to stop yourself from laughing.
And as opposed to his other violence, which is so over the top, this was very real. Yet there was comedy within it, like a perfect balance.
Yeah, it gets almost
Now I have
absurdist.
to, now I have.
Yeah, it almost gets absurd, especially like at the end. Like you're just like, this is so ridiculous, but it's such a good payoff for the whole film. Yeah, like it ends the film so good, and then the dialogue like right after it with the neighbor.
To be fair, you did way better, Adam, than I would have done, because all I knew going into this film was that Quentin Tarantino directed it, and there's a guy that looks like Bruce Lee that gets his ass kicked.
Gets his ass kicked,
and that's not close to what actually happened. I mean, according to Joe Rogan.
No, that's about how far I made it in.
Green Hornet, I guess.
Because I started it very late at night.
I knew that Quentin Tarantino had a foot fetish, and so there were a lot of feet shots in this movie. That's what I knew going into it.
This is a whole nother conversation.
I just knew that there were a lot of feet. And then
how do you know that? How do you know that?
I go to 4chan. It's an unfortunate side effect.
Well,
and so when I'm watching the film, I was like, yeah, this guy does have a foot fetish. Damn.
Oh my God.
You know Pierce Bronson, when he was doing his GoldenEye review or commentary, that was one of the things that he said, is that he had wished that Quentin Tarantino would have directed one. Could you imagine a Quentin Tarantino Bond?
Quentin Tarantino GoldenEye would have been fucking amazing.
That's a popular rumor, though. So Quentin Tarantino has said that he's only doing
or Bond
10 films or something. So that was his 9th film that you just referred to. So a lot of people are wondering if he's going to stick to his plot that he said like 20 years ago and only do 10 movies or whatever. And the 2 rumored movies that it's pretty like popular that he wants to do is a Bond film or a Star Trek film.
Which, as a Star Trek
yeah, the
fan,
Star Trek one. For some reason, the Star Trek film just disappeared all of a sudden.
You don't want to see a Klingon get beaten to death with a can of beans
while he's smoking a cigarette or something like that.
Yeah,
he was supposed to have the next Star Trek film, and it just disappeared.
Well, that could be because of the, current climate of the nation, but
no,
he was
prior to all the COVID madness, I'm pretty sure that whole Tarantino Star Trek film just
Yeah, it just
because
really.
of disagreements that's what they always say is disagreements or
Yeah.
um
I'm fine with it. I think the man is a good storyteller. If above anything, like yes, to Mike's credit, sometimes he uses unnecessary violence to be
it's a lot of
gratuitous.
violence, but it's great dialogue as
That's what I was
well.
about to say. Storytelling, no one can take away that the man tells like good stories. All of his movies are well written, and they're not written like it's not the same movie. You can go watch Once Upon a Time in Hollywood, Inglourious Bastards, Pulp Fiction, fucking Kill Bill, whatever. And they're telling different stories, but all the characters are so fleshed out, and the dialogue is always you can all those movies I just named. You can sit here and think of not like action scenes that you enjoy. You can think of like, oh wow, you remember when so and so was talking to so and so? Man, what a good scene, you know. And I think that's a sign of a good director.
I almost feel like he puts in gratuitous violence as a statement that that's what he thinks is necessary for people to see his film,
It could
And
be a
and
statement.
artistic. It's artistic.
his
Yeah,
dialogue is what he's
it's
most proud of. He wants
it's
you to see his dialogue, so he puts in gratuitous violence so that because he believes that's the only reason people are going to come see my movie. So
too.
here's stupid amounts of blood and killing, but it's the conversations that exist amongst the characters that you really go, wow.
Well,
Too.
when you go see a Tarantino film, you know you're going to see something over the top. You know, like
Yeah.
there are guarantees what you get out of it, and I think that's part of the reason why the Star Trek thing kind of fell apart, is because they're kind of reserved, on the way that they do things. Especially like even I'll say Picard does push those limits because there is
Yeah, I was literally
grotesque.
about to talk about Picard. I was about to be so ripping someone's eyeball out is
Yeah,
not
yeah, there is a
that's
lot of
reserved.
grotesqueness, yeah, in
Yeah.
Picard.
And perhaps I am on the fan. I guess I'm on the fence of like in Star Trek that isn't really needed. I thought Picard took some liberties to like make it seem more modern, especially when it came to violence. That like you don't need that in Star Trek, dude. Star Trek is all about the writing. Like you don't need
Mm-hmm.
fucking blood and guts to get people to tune into fucking Star Trek.
But in a Tarantino film, you know you're gonna get something over the top. You're gonna get great dialogue. You're gonna be invested in the characters. Um,
Yeah, Jamie Foxx is gonna kill people for 30 minutes
yeah,
straight.
somehow get a whip somehow and just start taking care of business.
Yeah.
But those are all good payoff. Those are all things that like that that take you to a Tarantino film.
Mhm.
Um, but for the average moviegoer, sometimes his artistic views are quite extreme. Like, did you really need that much blood? Like, it's kind of off-putting, but
I mean, you say it's extreme, but
But
I mean, like, what are the most popular shows on network television? You know,
right,
all 8 CSIs.
right,
you
right,
know,
yeah, absolutely.
so
Which
everyone enjoys the murder and blood and gore.
well, that's
Like,
that's what I was getting
I'm
at.
not
It's
sure
like
if CSI is
mainstream now.
popular for that.
He,
what's
it,
that, Adam? I'm sorry.
Go ahead,
Well, no,
Adam.
Mike, no, Mike, you're still making a statement.
Oh no, I was just gonna say like a lot of the stuff, like even Picard, like and or Rick and Morty, is this grotesque, like over the top violence,
It
regardless.
can be.
And I feel like that's been kind of normalized. Maybe not by his movies alone, but he's definitely contributed to that.
Well, I've seen a couple interviews with him, especially back when it was more taboo. Like his, nowadays, like you say, nowadays it is the standard. It's not unusual, so no one really talks about it. But back when he was coming on the scene, I was like, oh my god, this happened in your film. In interviews, he said that it just, he didn't care because it wasn't real. As you said, it was an artistic thing. Like, look, people understand that they're going to see a film. If I bash someone's head in and you see their brains and guts and everything else, like if I want to do that and people go and see it, I hope that my audience is smart enough to understand that like this is fiction. You might find it grotesque, but like it's not real. It's so to his credit. I mean, he's a weird guy in general. So
Yeah, like I
Most
said, I hope he
filmmakers
does Star
are.
Trek. That'd be great.
I would love to see a Star Trek directed Quentin Tarantino film. Or even a James Bond. Fuck it. Give him either of
I
those,
was
dude.
looking forward to it. Whenever, whenever the Star Trek Quentin Tarantino film sort of, I don't know if you can even call it fell through or just.
I thought it was just
It
all
seems like it
hearsay,
just disappeared
Yeah.
all of a sudden for no reason at all.
Like I said,
Whenever-
I think it was just in the talks. I think it was just being reported on because they were talking. And again, that's a big story. That's a lot of clicks for your website.
Oh, so it was just nerd sites saying, "Hey,
Yeah, it's
we
a
got
big
word
story.
that Quentin Tarantino is talking with."
Yeah, the people that do Star Trek, whoever. Yeah. Oh my God, this is huge news, and it is big news. That's a big story, but it doesn't mean that anything becomes of it. How every week when James Bond was coming out or was supposed to come out, it's who's the next Bond? Is it a woman? Is it the guy from
Well,
Dark
it
Tower?
is a woman.
Whose name I can never say. Who's the guy from the Dark Tower
Idris
movies?
Elba?
Idris Elba.
Yeah. Is it him? Is it a woman? Is it this guy? Is it the android from Prometheus? I'm forgetting everyone's fucking names. Magneto.
Hey,
That's
that
what
would've been
Google's
great.
for.
Yeah, right.
That would have been great. I
But,
could live with that.
but yeah, those are great articles. It doesn't mean any of it's true, but it's in terms of gossip, it's good.
That's fair.
So.
It's a very fair argument.
Anyways, so you guys both enjoyed Dark Phoenix? Sorry to fucking
Yeah,
you
that
off of
was
this
the
shit.
original.
Yeah. Oh,
Personally, I
Yeah.
thought it was severely underrated.
You thought it was better than Apocalypse. You do both? Did you see Apocalypse, Mike?
I mean, no, Apocalypse was the only one I did not see, but I really compare, and I think it's fair to compare these Marvel Fox movies to Marvel Disney movies. And that's
I
where
don't know that that's fair.
I think it's fair in the sense of like, these writers, they can kind of go wherever they want with this stuff. It's not Wolverine's fault that in the first X-Men, they ran out of money and they're fighting in a gift shop and fighting over trinkets. Like, you know what I mean? Like, I don't know. It's just they did such a poor job with that entire franchise. But saying that, I feel like Dark Phoenix was a much like as far as the enjoyment you get out of watching a Marvel movie, there's a certain payoff of enjoyment that you get. It's fun. Um, there was a lot of fun in Dark Phoenix. It's like they kind of tried to pull a little bit from Marvel's playbook, which they should have been way before that. But I mean, I guess you could say maybe Logan was the best thing that came
Yeah.
out.
Yeah.
If I can go on a mild X-Men rant, Dark Phoenix I thought was a severely underrated film, and I'm not sure why it was so harshly criticized, because in my opinion, you need to directly compare it to X-Men 3, because X-Men 3 was the last time that the Phoenix was.
Sorry to cut you off. You can't compare it to the 3 movies that came before. Again, which a lot of X-Men movies came before Dark Phoenix. But I mean, you compare it to that cast, the First Class, Days of Future Past, like.
Okay, First Class, amazing. Days of Future Past,
It's pretty good.
Days of Future Past,
pretty good. They're both pretty good.
Pretty good.
Solid 7s.
This is when that's starting to go down real slowly.
Yeah, exactly. That's what it seems to be. That's.
I never thought any of them.
No, I wouldn't call it. I wouldn't call it the X-Men trend, because X-Men 1 was good, X-Men 2 was better.
2 was better, and then
X-Men 3 was a fucking disaster.
Yeah.
So you have First Class,
Days of Future Past. I think they're about equal. They're both, and again, Days of Future Past is elevated. They almost cheated because of the fact that you bring in
yeah, but
old cast
they
members.
stole in old cast members.
Yeah,
If they
that
didn't
you're like,
have that,
wow, you know, yeah.
if they didn't have that, you'd be like, mm. But
Yeah,
then they also had those fucked up, not, or I guess they were the advanced versions of the Sentinels.
Oh, it's a movie. Come on. Come on. You need an unbeatable threat so that you have to go back in time.
I thought
You
it was
can't have,
kind of
like-
cool. I dug that.
Yeah, you can't have like these 80s robot mechanical things that you're like, why doesn't Storm just shock them all? Like, you know, you have to do a modern spin on it. Okay, you make them adapt to mutant powers. Like, yes, that isn't how the Sentinels are written, but no one in the audience is gonna question like, wow, these things are unstoppable. Like, fuck, they can't beat them, you know.
Well, anyways, then we had X-Men Apocalypse.
Trash.
Fucking, I could go on for an hour about what was wrong with that film, and it starts off with Apocalypse. Garbage. He was terrible. I think Dark Phoenix suffered because of Apocalypse the same way that
Okay.
Solo suffered because of The Last
Okay.
Jedi.
I like your train of thought. I like that.
They're both Solo and The Dark Phoenix were good films that got shit on or bad reviews or poor
reception.
Poor reception, or people didn't go see it, all because of the prior installment.
Yeah.
And
you have that bad taste in your mouth. So you go, well, Solo looks okay,
yeah,
but dude, that last one was really bad. And same thing. Dude, I just went and saw these last three and Apocalypse was garbage. So unless that trailer like really wows you to get back in that movie theater seat, like, yeah, you're just gonna skip it. You're gonna go, dude, they really fucked up that last one. Like,
and there are so many fucking great scenes in Dark Phoenix. So many great scenes.
Lots of fun scenes.
The fact that they
like Solo,
and it's
like
not even
Solo,
it's not
a
even
fun movie.
Exactly. Fun. And it's not even a spoiler. The fact that you literally kill Mystique though in your trailer.
Well, that's because
that's not great. That's some pretty poor marketing.
Yeah. I mean, maybe it's to get people in the seats. Hey, look, there are stakes, serious stakes. We're killing main characters. Come see our film.
So. Because I'm pretty sure if I can recall the trailer, and it's just from memory, it's Jean walking down the street being angry.
They don't show
Mystique
her
being
die.
thrown. No, Mystique being thrown.
Yeah.
And then they cut to a funeral, and guess who's not there?
Yeah, but again, so I never saw Dark Phoenix. So as someone that just saw the trailer, I thought that was like a bait and switch. Oh, look, they're making me think Mystique's gonna die, but really it's someone else. But I guess they really do kill Mystique. Spoilers.
We are missing a big key,
yeah, within like the first 15 minutes.
Real early. It happens real early, but we are like I just checked the release dates. Avengers Endgame came out a month before Dark Phoenix came out.
Oh yeah, people were still seeing it.
Who I mean,
that's just the whole point is the marketing, the timing. It was all poorly planned.
I thought the trailers were very bad. I thought the trailers.
Yeah, the trailers were bad. That's like, what the point that I was trying to make was it was bad all the way around.
As someone that didn't see this film, I saw Apocalypse. It was bad. Oscar Isaac tried his best. He hammed it up, but he's only so good. As someone that saw the last three, this one, when I saw the trailer, I remember thinking it was laughably bad. And then we saw a movie where they had, and maybe you guys saw this trailer, they had the X-Men Dark Phoenix trailer, and it was like it's all been leading up to this, and the whole trailer is showing clips of like the old X-Men movies, and then it's like it was no footage of Dark Phoenix, and it's like this is, and then it's like 10 seconds of Dark Phoenix, and it's like this is, you know, and I was like, wow, like they're literally like, they're like, our movie's so bad we have to be like, you guys remember Patrick Stewart and Ian McKellen? Come see Dark Phoenix. They won't be in this movie, but you know.
No, they were pathetically trying to ride the Avengers train, and it was blatant. I remember that.
Yep, like they made it like a big event.
Well,
like,
they had to
movies.
Because who's gonna want to watch Dark Phoenix after watching Avengers Endgame?
Yeah, no shit.
You know what I mean? Like, how is it nothing? Like, you have armies of superheroes appearing and fighting each other, as opposed to a bunch of teenagers that have. It's all been building up to this. Like,
yeah, and it's not even like the memorable cast that people think of when they think of X-Men. You know, like I don't think of the chick from Game of Thrones as Jean Grey. I'm sorry.
That would have been the best. Like, we talk about a failure of marketing. They wanted to market that. They should have said Sansa Stark is Dark Phoenix. That's how you actually make some money off of that movie.
I don't see her as Dark Phoenix. I don't see her as Jean Grey, man. I don't see it.
Don't talk shit on Sophie Turner.
Is that her name?
I'm just saying.
Sophie Turner, she crushed that role.
Okay, this is all I'm saying.
And she made an amazing Dark Phoenix in that film.
I'm sure she did.
Adam's very protective of Sansa Stark.
I see that. Oh, okay, so Sophie Turner in the trailers, to me,
I'm still Team Targaryen, but
she came across as like very deadpan. Like, even, you know, she had some emotional lines. I remember, you know, she's like, oh, when I do bad things, it feels good. And I was just like, what are you doing?
That's
like,
kind of Jean
so
Grey's
ridiculous.
character, though. That how they write her in all these X-Men movies. It's
she just. It didn't resonate with me. Like, she's reading her lines, and I was like, I don't buy it for a second, Sansa. Fucking
go back to the north.
Yeah, go be a cold queen. Go be an icy queen. I don't know. But it was the biggest flop of 2019.
Yes, it
was. So, it lost.
But I'm still blaming it on as you said, the trailers were terrible.
Trailers were terrible, and it was coming off of the bad taste of Apocalypse.
And it was following Avengers.
It's a trifecta,
so all of that,
there.
Like, it was just bad.
Funny that you mentioned that.
Management.
Its opening weekend, it opened at 32 million, and it didn't even finish first place during its first weekend because it lost a month later to Endgame. Endgame had been out for a month, and Endgame was still pulling in more than 32 million on fucking weekends. Look at that.
Yeah, so they were dumb enough to put it out right after Endgame. And they still haven't put out what's the Mutants?
Oh shit. New Mutants.
Mutants.
Speaking of Game of Thrones,
speaking of Game of Thrones actors,
it has what's her face?
Jamie, pull that up.
Not Sansa, the other one. The least popular one. Oh, it is
the least popular?
Arya? No,
Arya
not the least
Stark.
popular. Actually, Arya is more popular than Sansa.
I think Arya Stark is arguably the most popular Stark because even Jon is pretty fucking boring.
No.
But you're referring to Macy Williams.
Yes. No, Jon is a more liked Stark.
Absolutely.
Jon, and even
if you put Sansa and Jon in a poll, I would be curious to see the results.
I mean, maybe public opinion, but I don't know. I thought you were talking about in the show, like who's liked more, and I was just like, people barely even know who's. They're like, oh, you're Arya?
No. I'm not talking about in the show. I'm talking about. fans. Oh, yeah.
Hmm.
I don't
But
know.
no, Dark Phoenix did so poorly that New Mutants has been delayed for.
I thought there is a release date for that movie though.
There's been 4 release dates for that movie.
There's one. I know there's one. It's coming out.
No, it's not.
Well, it's gonna be bad. Don't get me wrong. That's gonna
Even
be a
Maisie
bad
Williams
movie.
makes jokes about not knowing when it's going to be released and
Yeah.
if it ever will come out.
Does it? It might have 2 Game of Thrones people in it. I think it has Macy Williams, and then it has Oh my God, who's the guy that died in the Battle of Winterfell? The guy that gets his nuts chopped off. Who is that?
The guy that died in the
Oh,
battle.
the dickless
Winterfell.
dude.
Yeah, Dickless man, and he when all the White Walkers come, he dies defending like Bran, I guess.
Mhm.
Whoever that guy is. Anyway, he's in the movie too. He's cast in that shit too.
Oh wow.
Yeah, they just pulled all of Game of Thrones.
That's why
characters.
it's not going to be successful.
Yeah, Charlie Heaton.
Uh,
Yeah, there you go. Whatever that guy's name is, I don't know. Anyway,
yeah, yeah. So, don't see X-Men, any of the movies.
don't see any of them ever. Well, Marvel's taking it over now, and I'm sure it's gonna be great.
Are they getting? Well, I'm waiting for X-Men versus Avengers. That's going to be your next
That's
Endgame.
their. I don't know that it is.
Successful type. I mean,
We're like 20 years out from that, man. I'm telling you, because their next 10-year
You think so?
project. Their next 10-year project is probably Secret Invasion, I think. With the
Secret Wars.
Is that what it is? Secret Wars with those shape-shifting guys, whatever they're called, the Kroll or something.
The scroll.
The Scroll. There it is. The Scroll. That's there because that's kind of like Captain Marvel's story.
Yeah, but I feel like you can do that pretty quickly. You don't need to.
No, it's got to be like a big twisty thing.
You don't need
because
to.
you've already seen that some of your main characters, maybe like main side characters, are already like copies. So that's gonna be the thing. You're gonna have like the next fucking Avengers film, but it's gonna be like, surprise! Some of your heroes were actually copies the whole time. I guarantee you that's where they're going.
I think the only way that you do that in an original and neat way is if there were people that died during Endgame or Infinity War that you didn't know died, and they've been Skrulls ever since. That would be a very cool way of telling that story, but just to go, hey, we knocked this person out and put them in a closet, and now.
But they probably won't do that. You're the only one that saw Far From Home, right? Did you see that?
Yeah, I've seen Far From Home.
I haven't finished it yet.
Okay, but Adam's seen it. So again, I haven't seen it, but I think that the end credits reveal that is Samuel Jackson. Is he a Skrull? Am I crazy to say that? Someone is.
Oh, no.
Someone is a
He
shapeshifter. Someone in that film is a shapeshifter. I need you to get your memory hat on. Yeah,
it's not
some main. What was it? Someone
a main character? No.
Yes, and
Samuel Jackson was in a car.
You don't remember, so you have to say.
No,
it was. Oh no. Samuel Jackson was in the car with Agent whatever his name is.
Oh, Colston.
Agent Larson.
Colston. He's the guy from the fucking the TV
generic.
show. Yeah.
It was generic TV person.
Yeah.
He was in the vehicle with him.
And he turned out to be a Skrull? Yeah.
That in that instance, that doesn't mean that every other time you've seen him.
No, oh, so his character was like still alive. It was just a shapeshifty guy.
You don't know.
That's all I'm saying. Why introduce them if you're not going for the big comic book plot of surprise, half of your heroes are shapeshifters? It just seems pointless. Like, why are you doing this? Why make little characters shapeshifters if that's not where you're going with your plot? To do a secret invasion, I guess is what it was. So
Yeah, which that I don't know. I mean, I
no,
think
it's not gonna hit like Infinity War hits.
yeah.
No way. No fucking way.
It's gonna. It would take a lot. It would take a.
No, there's nothing. I'll tell
They
you right
spent
now,
10
there's
years. They
nothing.
spent 10 years. If they
And you'll
spend
spend if
another
you
10
spend
years,
no, I'll tell
you
you
don't
why right
think you
now.
could connect to another
Nope.
character?
This is why. Because who were your hitters in Infinity War? Captain America, Iron Man, Hulk, Thor. These are name brand people before they ever hit the screen. Who do you have now? Captain Marvel. No one knew who the look. Comic book people knew who that was, but no one knew who the fuck Captain Marvel was. Black Panther.
Not to
Some
mention,
people
no
knew.
one even fucking likes the actress.
That's a whole nother side topic.
I mean,
But
I don't mind. Brie
she's an
Larson.
Emmy award. She's an Emmy award winner in The Room. So, or Room rather.
Well, good for her. She's
good
still
for her.
boring as fuck.
She's maybe miscast.
This is
I
why
don't-
I feel like X-Men. It's gonna take something like X-Men versus Avengers to break
to
out,
get it. Yeah.
like that again. Because you're gonna have to recast at some point. They have to recast Wolverine.
You have to recast all of the X-Men, really.
Right.
I mean,
But I feel like Wolverine's gonna be the most difficult to because I feel
Yeah,
like Hugh
because he
Jackman
was
did
so
such a
iconic.
good job.
Hugh Jackman is Wolverine. I mean, that's it. You know.
Yeah. I mean, even he was. I remember this is a funny story. He was on a Carnival cruise, some type of cruise, and he was playing this role where he had to kiss another man, and he right as he was about to kiss the guy, he said that someone in the crowd yelled out, "Don't do it, Wolverine." You know, he's always gonna be
Yeah.
associated with that character and who they, you know, them if they make a good choice for a new Wolverine, seeing Wolverine take on the Avengers, that's gonna be big. I don't know if it's gonna be Endgame big, but I feel like that's when they'll start to get some of their grounding back.
Oh,
That
100%. I mean, X-Men is what? Like probably the most profitable comic book franchise outside of maybe like Spider-Man and Batman, I would say, you know.
yeah, this is. We're gonna have to bring Noah in at some point.
Some kind of comic book guy.
Yeah, no, because I still say he's my guru. Like he's my comic book guru. Anyways, it is probably one of the most profitable franchises that there is.
I mean,
As far as comics are concerned, it's huge. TVs.
it's so big that even though Fox tried to kill it with their horrible attempts of making movies,
Yeah.
it was still successful in its
And
own
again,
way.
Tried to
And
kill
yeah, and you want to talk about like recast again? You've already recasted that, and it did fine. Like I said, First Class and Days of Future Past. Look, I guess
Yeah,
Dark
but the
Phoenix
one
was a
thing,
huge
the
shitty
one
flop,
person they
but
did.
Apocalypse still made money. I mean,
Because of the name. I mean,
yeah, because of the name. Yeah,
you
exactly.
wanted to see I mean, everyone, but when you saw his face and he looked like the bad guy from like the original Power Rangers movie.
Yeah, he looked like fucking Ivan Ooze, man.
Yeah. It's just like, come on.
I think the problem is
With
Marvel.
an amazing actor, and it was still so bad.
He had to have been
People wanna-
CG, that's why.
Yeah, people want to say that like Marvel has cookie cutter plots and shit, and to an extent they do. I'm not gonna take that away from people, but it definitely hurts these films where you have like Apocalypse show up, but he hasn't been established. Where you look at like the Marvel universe, and you're like, yeah, but see, they're big villains. You know, you talk about them, they're feared, you know, and it's like, who the fuck is this guy? Oh, he's a big bad guy. Okay, like whatever, man. Because this guy Thanos, we've been talking about his ass for 10 years. Like, you didn't
The
even have to
most-
show him, you know.
The most disappointing part, I think, of X-Men Apocalypse, just to mention it one more time, is they referenced him at the very end of, was it First Class or something?
Days of Future Past, maybe?
No,
Apocalypse?
it was Days of, yeah, because they show him on a mountaintop
Oh, that
with
was
the
the
four
post-credit
horsemen,
scene. Yeah, yeah, yeah.
and
Building like the pyramids
he's
or some
building the
shit.
pyramids. So you're already creating this godlike persona, and then when you see him, you go, okay, Ivan Ooze, like this is who we got.
It's just when you
This is
start
the
off
big
with
bad.
introducing your character as building the pyramids, like, you know what I mean? Like, I feel like it's a power level argument. Like, so how do they beat Apocalypse if he can just like think about killing them and they die? Like, how the fuck do you? And that could be the problem leading into like the Marvel's next, whatever fucking phase 19,
Yeah,
whatever
because
we're
how do
at.
you fight Galactus or
And how do you make it? Yeah, how do you make it feel relatable? When I'm watching Captain America punch his way out of situations, I'm like, like there's a human element to that. When I watch Captain Marvel go Nova and fucking fly through a spaceship, I'm just like, okay, so she's Goku. Got it. So like, just use Goku for every fight, like.
I think the payoff really comes with Marvel doing their homework with these characters that you're so familiar with that you get that payoff of like, oh, finally they're meeting, and I get to see what happens when Spider-Man, runs into Iron Man, or and that's the thing with those Fox movies is their most successful movies were the ones that are just one. It's one
It's a small,
person.
yeah.
Like
It's a small story. Yeah.
Cable, I believe, was Fox, a Fox made
No,
movie.
was it Cable? It was just the second Deadpool, right?
You're thinking? I
It
mean,
was
Deadpool was Marvel, I think.
no
Oh no, no,
Deadpool, but
no.
no, Deadpool 2.
Two
Deadpool
had
2
Cable.
is the one that had
Josh
cable.
Right,
Brolin.
right,
Josh
right.
Brolin. Yeah.
Yeah.
Josh
Wait,
Brolin is cable. Josh Brolin is Thanos. Josh Brolin is just
he's a good actor. He's a
And
the
good
then
shit,
fucking actor.
apparently, when it comes to comic book movies.
and Logan, that was people when that came out. People were saying that that there was an Oscar that should have been divvied out to one of those characters for that movie. But it's just weird that their best movies are ones of just one single person as opposed to Marvel's where it's about one person, but there's so much other things going. It's so layered. Their homework is
Well,
done.
I will say a smaller story is always more intimate. So again, the Deadpool 2, Logan, like, yeah, these are superhero stories, but it's just, I hate to say it, you can even pull it back to like Blade and these really early superhero stories of like, it's still a pretty good movie. Why? Because it focuses on like one character's struggle, not, yeah, Marvel is layered and it builds to this big 10-year climax that's epic and fantastic. But I mean, yeah, that's probably why like Thor 2 sucks and Iron Man 2 sucks. And because it's like, well, it didn't add anything to the mythos, really. So why am I watching this movie?
I
It
mean,
was just,
to be fair, Thor 1 sucks too.
yeah. I mean, it's not that good.
I didn't mind Iron Man 2. I feel like that movie was pretty solid.
I just feel like universally the three that people shit on are like Iron Man 2 and 3 and like Thor 2. I know Thor 2 gets a lot of shit. And Thor 1 is bad. And First Avenger is pretty bad also. So,
It's bad in retrospect.
yeah, definitely.
At
At the time it was like a bar for superhero movies and now you see it and you're like, "Oof, this is bad."
Yeah, it's
But
kind
again,
of
I feel like it's because it doesn't add anything to the Marvel mythos. It's not building. You just go, so what? I just watched Captain America do some shit. Like, what's the big deal?
yeah, pretty much.
Have you heard the rumor that I mean, the one person to cross universes out of the Sam Raimi Spider-Man would be J.
Oh,
Jonah Jameson. He
That's right. He did pop up at the end of Far From Home, I think.
yeah,
Yep.
and I keep seeing these rumors of like people being like, let Raimi finish his get
Oh.
last shot, and it's just like,
Uh,
oh, like what would that even look like today? Now he's seen what good super like. I mean, how many times did they reboot Spider-Man till they're like, yep, we finally got it right. Sorry about
well,
those
but
other horrible versions.
I honestly feel like they have finally gotten it right. So
Mhm.
yeah, they really have. The new Spider-Man are arguably some of these, if not the strongest standalone films of the Marvel universe. So, but the Raimi films
it's
aren't like
fun.
terrible.
And
The
it's
Raimi
fun. That's what
films,
Spider-Man's
yeah,
supposed to be.
the Raimi films follow I guess, the original X-Men model of like
Yep.
good, great, fucking terrible. Like, oh man, Spider-Man 3. Wow.
Oof. Spider-Man
Yeah.
3, you talk about X-Men 3?
How do you cast Venom as the kid from that 70s show? Like, why do you think that's okay? I don't know.
I'd like to see that Venom fight the new Venom with
Tom
Bane.
Hardy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He would just
Tom
bite.
Hardy.
He would bite that '70s show's kid's head off, and it would be
Yeah,
over.
whatever.
Like,
I mean, but the problem wasn't even like the Venom. That movie had a lot of problems. I felt like it was like two movies in one. They just
No,
tried
it
to do
was
too
it,
much.
it had the X-Men 3 problem in my opinion. There were too many characters that
Yeah.
you're introducing all at one time.
Yeah,
And
most
it's
of the
all
movie is focused on Sandman, and you don't even fucking remember his plot. You're like, oh yeah, Sandman was like an hour and a half of that movie. Oh, and who else was in it? The fucking Hobgoblin.
no,
Yeah,
see
he was in it too. Like,
he was a gravel worker that
he turned into sand.
sand somehow. I don't fucking remember.
He has a really good plot in the comics. His comic book character is like really layered and in depth. He's just a guy trying to provide for his daughter. You know, this typical like good beginnings turned bad kind of thing. But yeah, you tell his story in 30 minutes where you're also trying to tell the Hobgoblin story, Peter's friend from 3 movies, and you're also trying to introduce Venom and Eddie Brock in one movie. Like, it was just, oh man. Oh, what a nightmare.
what?
Eddie Brock, the bodybuilder who weighs 190 pounds.
Yeah. 190. You're being fucking gracious with that.
I mean, Tobey Maguire is not very ripped himself. I mean,
Yeah, he was lean. He was lean. Which
yeah.
again, talk about where we've come from. You know, you see these guys now, Chris Evans and Hemsworth and all these people. You see them in like other movies, and they do look like superhuman. But back then, it was like you look at Hugh Jackman from the first X-Men and Tobey Maguire, and these guys just like did a little diet for like a month. Like, oh look, they have abs. They're superheroes.
If
And then the theaters were like, "Hey, we can buy you steroids."
Yeah, you need to cycle for 6 years to look. We need you to actually be a superhuman. That's very important for your role.
I think it's interesting. I think I figured out the perfect person that could do Wolverine as long as he didn't have to take off his mask. Like if he didn't have to take off his mask, I think he'd be perfect.
Who's that?
Jason Statham as
No, well,
Wolverine.
he is small. He is small. I'll give
Yeah,
you that.
and
You gotta have a
he's
small
angry.
guy.
He's a very angry.
Short, jacked, and voice. Is that what you're going for?
Pretty much, just like
I would assume that he already cycled, but I was thinking, like, could you get him a little bit bigger? Because, you know, Hugh Jackman, by the time Logan rolled around and X-Men Days of Future Past, like, he's fucking enormous.
yeah, yeah.
Like, you can look at him. He looks like me or you in X-Men 1. He just looks like a guy. Like, he takes his shirt off. You're like, yeah, he doesn't have abs. Like, whatever, man. And then in like Days of Future Past, he's like the biggest guy at the gym. You're like, holy
Yeah,
shit.
he goes from
Like,
the dude to like Arnold Schwarzenegger. It's
You're
yeah.
like,
ridiculous.
okay, he works out too.
He just never stopped working out for like 15 years. He just kept doing it.
I mean,
But,
technically, if you had the ability for spontaneous healing, like
Now,
Wolverine, you would technically actually this makes a lot of sense. This makes these movies better because you know how much time you have to take off to heal to let your body recover? You could literally hit the gym right after you hit the gym.
That's why you do like different body parts on different days because I think optimally you need like 24 hours to heal. So that's why you do push pull and shit like that because you have to.
We just saved those movies. Way better.
We just figured out how he got so jacked.
But you're right. If you have healing, you could just bench press all fucking day. You'd be like, I'm gonna go drink a Gatorade. I'm fine. Let's start benching more. Like, you would never have DOMs. You would never wake up with any soreness in the morning. You just be like, oh man, my chest grew an inch every day.
No, what is it? Paul Rudd asked somebody, Chris Pratt or something, how do you get the action hero's body? And he was just told, you don't have fun for a year.
Yeah, you don't eat sugar, basically.
You don't eat anything good, and you don't have any fun. That's how you get an action star's body.
I don't know.
But
look, it's not pretty fun.
Sure, there's a lot of steroids involved.
Oh, pretty sure. I would bet my life that everyone in Hollywood in the action role. Because look, if I'm handing you a $20 million check and saying, hey, look, we need you to juice for like 6 months for this role, the payoff is like, it's bad for your health, but I mean, it's the biggest paycheck you're gonna get in your life, you know, like if it's even like arguably bad for your health when given to you through Hollywood doctors, you know. And also that, you know, you want to talk about no fun.
And in that short period of time.
Yeah. I'm not saying that these guys don't work hard, but it's like, in 6 months, if I had someone to wake me up and feed me and cook me food and say, okay, Jason, it's time for your 2 p.m. workout. Let's go do it. And here's your needle for the day and shit. Like, it's still difficult. I'm not taking it away from them. But when you it's like going to school. If you just could go to school for 6 months and be jacked, like, it's tough, but it's not like unreasonable by any means, you know.
I mean, if we're getting into that, how many, like, it's so prevalent in the NFL that every year it's a handful of people that they test. Because if they tested everyone, there would be no league.
They'd all be positive.
And I mean, you know, kind of touching on that, did any of you guys watch the draft?
I'm aware of some people that got drafted.
So that's a no from Jason.
Did not watch the draft. I don't watch the draft when there's not a pandemic.
So... Yeah, I don't watch. I'm not someone that watches the draft. I'm someone that obsesses over the Cowboys fan pages and websites that discuss our picks because
hypothetical
because they all know more than I do. Because I also don't watch college football. So
you say they know more, but every year it's, oh, look at this stud. The fucking, here comes the Cincinnati Beagles, number fucking, and then there's shit every year. It's the same shit. You know, everyone likes to think that people make good draft choices, but you just don't know until they get on the field and fucking play. College and NFL are just, I mean, they might as well be two different fucking sports. I mean,
it's very true, but everyone loves the shit on the Cowboys, and I am obviously Team Cowboys. There were rankings put out by different websites of how they thought different teams did, and the Cowboys were almost across the board by tons of sites that we were one of the best. We had one of the best draft seasons.
Because Jerry Jones drafted on his new yacht. That's why. That's a true story. He did the draft on his... He
was sitting on a fucking yacht drafting, and that's why fucking Cowboys... Y'all can go fuck yourselves.
Yeah, I mean,
we're the shit.
We got CD Lamb, some wide receiver, and then we just have a bunch of defensive players. I mean,
I'm just saying, you put CD Lamb on. If I didn't know who he was because I don't watch college football, but you put him on one side of the field, you put Cooper on the other, and then you got Zeke in the middle with Dak.
sounds
Dangerous. That's a dangerous offense.
It sounds
no matter
great.
how bad Dak is sometimes.
Sounds great on paper, but it's 16 games. Are they gonna come out?
And we
and do
also
it
have
every
we also
Sunday,
have a new coach, so we're gonna have new plays.
Oh God, who is our coach
Mike
now? I don't
McCarthy.
even know.
Which, speaking of that, I think any coach would have been better than Jason Garrett was. I think he was your Norv Turner in the sense that he took a team that had lots of potential and they played very average result. Or
Yeah,
they got very average
he played conservative, safe football.
and he was definitely
And that's
just
the
a media
problem.
man. Yeah, he's just a media man. He was just a guy to talk in the interviews and say what our team's best interest was.
My only thing
I'm
is Ron
I'm
Rivera
interested
might
to
have
see
been
how
better.
Kellen Moore does. I'm sorry, what did you say?
Ron Rivera?
The two coaches that were talked about for the Cowboys before Mike McCarthy was Mike McCarthy and Ron Rivera, the ex Carolina Panthers coach.
Yeah.
He's very defensive minded. He ended up going to Washington.
It's gonna be
I feel like
problems.
I haven't read everything about our draft picks, but our defense is I'm worried about it.
No, I don't know. Look, we got a wide receiver, we got 2 cornerbacks, we got a center, we got an edge, we got a
We
DB,
needed a
and then,
center.
then we've got a QB in like the 7th. The thing is that makes, I guess, our draft good is everyone's saying that we get a lot of value. A lot of these guys that we get were predicted to go way earlier, rounds earlier than they did, and then the Cowboys scooped them up because they might have not like performed so well in the combine.
Yeah.
But in college football, like in terms of football numbers, what they played on the field, they did like very well. But in the combine, they fell short. But I don't think the Cowboys give a shit about that. They're like, hey, look, you played well. That's all we need to know. I don't really care how good your long jump and how many bench presses you can do. You played 4 years, great.
I'm just glad.
Oh, go ahead, Adam.
Green Bay.
I was just gonna say that I'm glad that we got a center that lots of people are saying was a good pick because
we got him in the 4th. I mean, I'm sure he's good. I don't know anything about the guy.
But Dak needs protection because Dak at the moment he will be possibly a great quarterback one day. Right now he's good, but he needs time. So we need a good center. He needs protection.
See, I disagree with those kind of quarterbacks only because like Patrick Mahomes didn't need time. Lamar Washington didn't need time. Like that type of play style, you either have it or you don't have it. Like
but
RG3
Lamar Jackson's a running quarterback. I mean,
Dak you think of as a very mobile quarterback as well.
I mean, he can run out of the pocket, but he doesn't like run deep. He just runs for the sidelines. He just slants out. And okay, hey, he got you 7 yards, but he's not taking the tackle. Lamar Jackson he is a better RG3, but arguably RG3 could have been Lamar Jackson if RG3 didn't have injuries. I mean,
and you also don't know what the coaches are telling them.
Yeah, that's true.
Because
like,
if Dak's being told, don't run because they're just coming off of Romo and they don't want another quarterback that
riddled with
injuries.
Yeah, Cam Newton, RG3, same thing. Hey, you want to run and that's cool, but we need you to fucking lead our team for like 8 years, dude. Like,
and Romo was lackluster when he first started out, and then he became this top tier quarterback. that is now one of the most intelligent broadcasters there is on television.
That's a
Sure.
strong opinion.
That's an opinion. Philip Rivers will follow.
He calls
after
the
him.
he,
If he
he
has a
calls
bolo
the
tie,
plays
man.
before they happen, and he's going to be the highest paid analyst this year. So
I'd rather listen to Peyton Manning. No offense.
The
Call it, Dan.
future of NFL broadcasting will be Tony Romo and Philip Rivers just saying the same thing in the booth.
Philip Rivers would just be getting too pumped. I don't think he could ever do that. He'd just get too excited, just start like
oh, very much.
yelling and not cursing.
Yeah, right.
But I read an interesting article on. I think we're gonna see the Packers have a divorce with Aaron Rodgers, if not this year, next year.
He might end up being a Patriot.
Yeah,
That
and
seems to be.
yeah, which is very, very scary. Well, the other option would be that he might become a Bronco, just because John Elway has this knack of getting these great quarterbacks that are in their last luster of a year.
Yeah, you get 2 years. Go God and do it.
Yeah. I mean, and that's the thing. I did not know that Peyton Manning is the only quarterback in history. Only quarterback.
Did he win on 2 separate teams? Is
Yeah,
that
to
what you're
win a
about
Super Bowl in 2 separate teams.
I was talking about this the other day. I was literally like, wait, Peyton Manning won on the Colts and the Broncos. Did anyone else do that? Like, has anyone else done
I
that?
thought Joe Montana, but they never won with the
No.
Chiefs.
No.
And
Man, just a sidebar about the Broncos, dude. I know there's a lot of people down here in Texas that are Broncos fans.
really, that's surprising.
It sure is. And all I think to myself is like, let's be realistic. Before Peyton Manning joined that team, like you didn't give a fuck about the Denver Broncos. Like, sure, John Elway is leading them, and that's a name. You know that name. But before Peyton came to that team, like the Broncos, I'm not taking anything away from them as an organization. I'm trying to shit on them, but they have like why would people that were born and raised in Texas, why are you rooting for the Denver Broncos? It's because of a QB like Peyton going over there and pumping your fucking team up.
I mean, there's Cowboys fans in Pennsylvania, which is
Well,
surprising.
but okay, but
Well,
the
that's American
Cowboys,
team. There's Cowboys fans everywhere.
yeah, the Cowboys were. I mean, we might still be. I'm not going to get into this debate, but there was a reason we were called America's team. It's like how there are Patriots fans fucking everywhere. If the Patriots lose for 30 years, maybe the Patriots aren't so liked other places. But
do you think Tom Brady will etch his
Win?
name in
Oh,
that
God.
in that area of 2 Super Bowls or multiple Super Bowl or 2 teams Super Bowl winners?
I think he wants to. I mean, clearly the guy wants to win one outside of New England to show.
It would be a
That's
huge fuck you.
That's gonna be the
Huge.
story. That's gonna be the story.
I don't think it's a fuck you. I think it's just as a man, he wants to prove that, like, yes, I'm glad that New England did everything they could for me. But look, guys, I'm my own man and I can win a fucking Super Bowl without these guys, I think that's where he's coming from.
Problem with that is the fact that Belichick, like I meant it would be a big FU to Belichick.
Yeah.
Like I don't think he has any ill feelings towards the Patriots, the organization, like maybe Robert Kraft but I think it's mostly towards Belichick in the sense of they wanted to keep Jimmy G over Brady.
Yeah.
Like not too long ago, and I
Let's see
guarantee
how
you
that worked out.
I guarantee you that he hasn't forgotten about that shit. And it seems like there's been a big falling out between Belichick and Brady. And
Behind the scenes.
yeah, and I think that's what it really comes down to.
Do you think so Gronk already left. Who's the other big guy in the Patriots? I can't remember his name. Fuck. Forget. Their receiver. I don't know. Continue on. I'm sorry.
How badly do you think the NFL in general and fucking Goodell wants to see or would love to see a Bucks versus Patriots showdown.
That's never happening. That will never. The New England Patriots about to go into like rebuilding mode.
If it did happen, that's when I would go, are we sure this is not wrestling?
I mean, let's see. The Patriots, they did draft. This is the first time that they drafted down. Or they traded down.
Yeah. He traded. I know Belichick traded the first round pick away.
Yeah, they ended up picking. It's the first time that the Patriots drafted 2 tight ends since Aaron Hernandez and Gronk.
They just here's an article. They just signed 8 veteran players today. I mean,
what happens though if there is a divorce with the Packers and all of a sudden Darth Belichick now has one
Aaron
of the most
Rodgers?
accurate, one of the most
Yeah.
disgustingly accurate quarterbacks in NFL history.
So my question was, do you think if Edelman is still there, okay, but there have been rumors in the rumor mill that Edelman might want to leave the team and follow Brady. And if you get Edelman, Gronk, and Brady, I don't think it will actually happen.
I don't think Edelman can last.
Everybody wants this great.
You want a migration to like
yeah, they
want
this great. They want this great migration to the Bucks and to see what they can do.
Oh, you know, Brian Hoyer is their second string on New England. That's great.
Andy Dalton got released. They couldn't fucking find a trade for him.
Oh, that's funny.
Yeah, but I think, I'm pretty sure that they wouldn't be in rebuilding mode anymore if they got Aaron Rodgers, because Green Bay's going to save a ton of money if they get rid of him, because they're going to get hit real hard with the next 3 years of Aaron Rodgers' contract. And on top of that, Brett Favre straight up told Aaron Rodgers that you should go to another team after they fucking traded up to get a quarterback.
Yeah, that was.
Which I mean, to me, that's very strange because I don't know. Like, I'm not a big Green Bay fan. I think I know a lot of Green Bay fans that I don't like, but it doesn't matter. I respect their team. I think they're a good organization. But Aaron Rodgers, clearly he hasn't like regressed, but the team has, which is why he does so poorly. Like, look at when he was in like his heyday versus now. Like, who are the receivers that he's fucking throwing to? You know what I mean? Like, there's a couple. He has a really good running back.
What are the weapons available?
That's why it would be such a marriage, almost evil marriage made between him and Belichick, because Belichick does such a good job of taking no-namers and turning them into a household name overnight, which is why I think it's such a yin and yang switch of power, where Aaron Rodgers for so long has had like no help. His best wide receiver was like Donald Driver. Like Eddie Lacy was a humongous failure.
Devontae Adams was
okay.
Yeah, he was pretty good. And like I said, he has a great running back in Aaron Jones over there. But that's always that argument of like, well, do you have the quote unquote best running back in the league because your passing game is fucking in the trash, you know? Like, you have no one's catching the ball, so you have to fucking run it. I mean,
yeah, I mean, and then how much of Derrick Henry's run, like he literally I felt like Derrick Henry literally carried the Titans almost the whole way to the fucking Super Bowl on his back alone. He made Ryan Tannehill look like a viable option for a long-lasting quarterback. Like, Ryan Tannehill's career has been revitalized. I think it's partially with the fact that, we have this tank of a man that I can just hand the ball off to, and he'll probably end up at the other side of the end zone when I give it to him.
If you have a deep threat wide receiver, but you still have a good running back, it's one of those, I feel, or no, I meant the other way around. If you have one but not the other, that proves that player's quality, because the opposing team knows we need to defend this player. When you have both, you can't be positive whether or not how great they are because there's a dual threat.
I would
If
like.
it was just Zeke and if there was no one to throw the ball to on the Cowboys, and our only option was give it to Zeke, and he could still pound it, I don't know, 5 yards every run, 5+, then you would say, wow,
Like,
that's a running back. But whenever you have multiple weapons, it's hard to scale and determine the quality of each individual player because they don't have to have all their the defense isn't focusing just on that one individual.
Yeah, like you don't have 3 defenders. Oh, quick, get Adrian Peterson. We know he's got to get the ball. Quick, just fucking get on him. Like I get what you're saying, but look, our division has always been soft. Talking about the Cowboys, and this year, honestly, I think the Eagles will do what they always do, which is hey, look, they won a Super Bowl, but they're gonna implode themselves.
They won a Super Bowl with their backup.
I think
Yeah.
no. That's the crazy thing is I've spoken to a bunch of Eagles fans about what they thought about the draft. And
Jalen
it's
Hurts.
funny because they are calling Carson "I'm always hurt" Wentz.
Yeah.
Like his nickname. But Jalen, I think he's gonna get an opportunity.
Oh, 100%. He might. But what I'm saying is, so that means that their team is at least 2 to 3 years out, I would say, from being maybe like a real playoff contender. Cowboys are looking strong in that division. But yes, the Redskins just got a really good coach. And the Giants have been rebuilding for fucking 5 years. At some point, these
but the Browns have been rebuilding for 10 years.
No, but the Browns are not the Cleveland Browns are not the New York Giants. Okay, well, I guess the Knicks have been shit.
No,
for
I thought you
like 10
were talking
years.
about the Lions.
So,
The Browns have
I-
never stolen rings from Brady.
Yeah, exactly. And all I'm saying is that like New York, eventually they're gonna get their shit together, and I feel like the Redskins are really close, maybe this year, to getting their shit together. And so I think the Cowboys are gonna have
So
problems.
you think
where,
the
like,
East is about to get really fucking?
No, I just think that we're going to have competition. Like, let's be realistic. The last 3 years, the Cowboys have looked very well because our division. I mean,
no, even in no.
You're going against
included,
joke teams, except for the year that the Eagles won.
The Cowboys included, that division has been shit.
Yeah, I know, because we're 8-8. It's just we're just the 8-8s. That's fucking it. That's all we got. So,
especially last season. Last season, the NFC East looked. Oh,
it's laughable. Go and look. I would like you, Adam, at some point to go look at what Cowboys games were, what the scores were going into halftime compared to what these final scores are. Because
we were the third quarter, fourth quarter comeback kings.
But see, that's why I hate that word, comeback. Look, Dak. Oh wow, Dak's such a comeback quarterback. Yeah, because when you get down by 4 fucking touchdowns going into halftime. Wow, imagine that. You're just going to air the ball out, and some people are going to catch touchdowns. Like,
is that coaching? Is that Jason Garrett playing too safe? And then whenever you get behind, you go, just air it out. And then maybe we actually see Dak and throw it? I don't know.
To be fair, I think the Giants, I really wonder when they're going to get their shit together because they have fallen into the same trap as the Browns, which is we need a new quarterback. We need a new head coach like every 2 years, or something like that. Which you're not gonna establish any sort of culture by uprooting a new coach and just and changing that position every year. But yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I think you're going to see that, like as Jason said, that entire division is going to tighten up. And I think the Eagles are probably the biggest wild card because nobody really knows what's going to happen out of them with Maybe Jalen.
Yeah.
Maybe
Well,
Jalen Hurts is good.
hopefully they fucking suck because
No,
they are the
you're right.
worst.
Yeah. I'm leaning towards the fact that hopefully that because of their like wild card decisions in the draft, they just look really dumb for the next 2 years. That's what I hope as a Cowboys fan. But I mean, you're right. It could pay off for them. And then
That's
all
what
of a
people
sudden
should
they
hope as a
strike
football
gold.
fan.
Yeah, well.
I mean, Philly is very, very strong on how they feel about the success of their football teams. I mean, they threw, as my dad likes to say it, they threw snowballs at Santa. Um, but yeah, like Philly
Eagles
fans won't
fans
tolerate.
are the worst. Period.
Philly fans won't tolerate the Eagles playing poorly, especially coming off of this Super Bowl. Like Eagles fans are still really happy about finally after all these years getting a Super Bowl. And when I was a San Diego Chargers fan, that's all I was hoping for was like finally can we get this monkey off of our back? And I think the Ravens are the new version of what the San Diego Chargers were. Super stacked, super talented, but every time they go to off the I'm sorry, in like the playoffs, they choke and they
Well, but Lamar
underplay.
Jackson, I mean, what? This was his first year as the lead. So you know what I mean? Like everyone expects rookie quarterbacks to do well. I mean,
Mhm.
because most of the time they are very young and mobile and willing to take risks. But I don't think it's surprising to see them lose on like a big stage. You know, I don't know if that's like nerves, if that's just inexperience. I don't know what it is.
There's an
But
adjusting period.
yeah.
I'm
Regular season is one thing. Playoffs is a whole nother fucking ball game.
I mean Madden predicted the Patrick Mahomes the Chiefs winning. Um,
I
they
still
also
can't believe
predicted
that.
they also predicted the Rams going to the Super Bowl.
Ha.
Uh, they are now predicting for the 2021 cover that Lamar Washington that the Ravens are going to get to the Super Bowl. So that means,
Right. Lamar Washington and Lamar Jackson. Am I fucked up?
or oh no, I'm sorry, Lamar Jackson. Sorry.
Yeah. Okay.
So if that's going to happen, the Ravens have to beat the Chiefs at some point during the playoffs. That's
Oh,
going to be the team to beat
that.
for the AFC.
Do you think that seems realistic?
I mean, I don't think Patrick Mahomes is going to, after winning
The
a Super
Ravens
Bowl.
beating the Chiefs?
Yeah. You don't think weren't the Ravens and the Chiefs? Wasn't that like did they play last year? And wasn't that like an enormous high scoring game? Or am I imagining that?
I think there was a couple games that they had played that were very tightly contested.
Yeah.
Because they're so similar in style.
Exactly. It's only until you play like the 49ers that you come down to earth and only score 21 points instead of fucking 48 or
Yeah.
something.
Yeah. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. Madden's normally pretty close when it comes to these predictions. So if they don't win the Super Bowl, they're typically in the Super Bowl at least.
Just to go back to the draft, it's I don't know. It's always hard for me because every year people are talking about who drafted well, who drafted poorly. These guys are studs. These guys are bust.
Mhm.
But again, I mean, just like you're talking about the Madden analyst and shit. I mean, especially when you're talking about people coming out of college, until these guys play, like you just don't know what kind of product you're going to get. Yeah, we know what you did in college. That's great. Anyone that watches football will tell you college defense to NFL defense. I mean, it's fucking night and day, you know.
If this season occurs, it's going to be the oddest season to date because Tom Brady. Let's go over the list. Tom Brady's not going to be a Patriot. The Raiders are no longer in Oakland.
Oh, Vegas.
Yep,
Yeah.
they're going to be the Las Vegas Raiders.
Aaron Rodgers, maybe.
Maybe somewhere else. Maybe.
Maybe a Patriot.
There
The
might not
Saints-
be any fans in any of the seats.
in any stadium. The Saints will get knocked out in a second round playoff like every year. So and it'll be a bullshit call like every year. So our championship game, I don't know, Seattle will do well and then lose in the playoffs again. These are just standards.
No, they'll just decide to throw it instead of run it.
Yeah. Texans fans will think they're going to win the Super Bowl when their quarterbacks get tackled 8 times a fucking game. He gets sacked so fucking much.
Or Texans fans will think that their team is good.
They traded away
Also
a bunch of their
a mistake.
weapons.
Yes, they did. They traded away like
Hopkins.
arguably, yeah, the best wide receiver in the league, one of the best. I mean,
and what's his name? Clay Matthews. He filed an injunction for $2 million against the Rams, saying that they owe him money.
Really?
Yep.
Yeah. Is it? Well, I hate to go back to the Texans, but Deshaun Watson, they QB. That's the whole thing. That man is talented. Don't get me wrong. Deshaun Watson is great. And hey, from someone that plays fantasy, he's fantastic. But like I said, when you're getting sacked like at least 5 times a game, that's like the minimum number of times that you are getting laid on your ass. Like, what's your longevity, dude? Wow, your team's great because you're gonna have a QB that plays for 3 fucking years.
I mean, how are you not rattled mentally either? Thinking like, oh God, it's coming. It's coming.
Yeah,
I can feel it.
Yeah, I'm about to get hit by a fucking truck. Yeah.
I want to hear. No, I love to hear Texans fans talk about how great the Texans are and how shitty the Cowboys are. Especially back when we had Romo. And the greatest, I still say, as someone who lives in Texas and is a Cowboys fan, one of the greatest scenes was JJ Watt breaking through and going for Romo, and Romo not even seeing him, just knowing it's there, just rolling out.
Yeah. You're reminiscing about good times.
No, I'm saying, if you want to talk about quarterbacks that get tackled,
yeah, but you're also talking
Texans
about like
fans love to talk shit on Romo, and now they have a quarterback that can't fucking do what Romo did.
Well, but I mean, but Romo didn't have to do that every time. So he's fresh. He got legs under him. You know what I mean? Like he can, don't get me wrong, at the time JJ Watt was, I mean, the fucking man. So yeah, I get why people always bring that up because yeah, I mean, you fucking faked JJ Watt out, made him look dumb and threw a fucking TD right in his face. Like, oh, the best, the best defensive player that year. But I mean,
and it's Texas.
You didn't make the playoffs. I mean, fuck, man. So, but I mean, I'm talking about the Texans over here. But they got Brandon Cooks, they got Cobb from the Cowboys, and honestly, I think Fuller will end up.
Oh, they did get Cobb.
Yeah, Fuller will end up probably being their big star because Fuller didn't do too much last year. He was quiet. But he does like big fucking plays well. So, like 40 plus yards, he would air that shit out. And plus he was pretty injured last year too, I think.
So is it fair? I mean, I don't know. I've always seen, like for me, the greatest moment, or well, not the greatest moment, but one of the greatest moments for me was seeing the Chargers get to the AFC playoff game against the New England Patriots. Who had literally danced in the middle of the Chargers emblem when they had met previously. Now, the game that I'm talking about, Phillip Rivers ended up having an ACL surgery the day before the game, and he still went out there and played. So did LaDainian Tomlinson. He ended up having surgery on his ACL, but it affected him way much more because he has to cut and juke and dodge these.
Yeah, he has to be agile. Yeah. Where I guess Phillip Rivers can kind of do the Drew Brees. Where, hey, yeah, I'm hurt, but I'm either gonna throw the ball away. I don't really have to run out of this fucking pocket.
As long as he doesn't get hit, he could just.
Yeah, you can stand there. Yeah, and pull an Aaron Rodgers. Just ground that bitch 3 fucking times if you have
That's
to. You know?
when Philip Rivers earned my respect. Like, okay, because I was so mad that they let Drew Brees go. I was like, and they even said in a lot of interviews with past Chargers that when they made the switch to Rivers over Brees, and they were playing in the AFC playoff matches, and throughout the season, they had to pick safe plays. They couldn't really unleash it the way they did when they went 14-2 with Drew Brees.
But do you think if say those QBs are switched, do you think you guys have Breeze and Rivers ends up in New Orleans? Do you think that because of the teams around these people, they play differently? I mean, we could
Mm,
I
be
mean,
talking about Philip Rivers over here with fucking rings.
but
I,
If he played
Breeze is fucking scary.
I don't know if I don't know if at that point in time that Rivers in his career, if he would have been able to get rings. I think the most poignant fact is the fact that Breeze probably would have been the quarterback for the Chargers if they had won a ring in that era at all. That's now Philip Rivers is going to the Colts. San Diego Chargers are dead, so the Colts are my team now. I'm. This is the last hurrah for this gunslinger.
how many more years do you think
I
Rivers
think he's
has
got
left
2.
in this?
I think he's
You think
got 2.
it's a 2? We got a lot of 2-year. We got Rivers. We got Brady, barring an injury, has 2 years. I mean,
Colts are they're buying and playing to win now.
yeah, to win right now. Yeah,
Yeah,
you
but
gotta win.
I would give Brady 2.
Brady should have been. I mean, by NFL standards, the man should be retired.
He should be done.
Absolutely.
But he wants a ring without Belichick to
Yeah, and
prove
I think
to prove something to himself, if not to Belichick.
Yeah, the only reason
I don't know what their relationship is, but
the only reason I said 2 years is I think he's signed in Tampa for 2 years, something like that. That seems to be what you see with, Brett Favre and Peyton, these guys. That's 2 years. You got that's all you get.
they changed teams just to prove something.
Jason Witten went to Oakland.
I still think this is Witten's last year.
You
I
mean
think.
Las Vegas?
Yeah, I said, oh yeah, I did say Oakland, didn't I? Yeah, so he went to the Raiders. So he retires, comes back after a year to play tight end for the Cowboys, and he's always been a Cowboy
Because he thinks
just to go to
can win.
fucking the Raiders. I don't know.
I think this is Witten's last year.
100%. I mean,
I think he didn't retire because it's a pride thing. It would
why?
look bad.
How? Look, you do what Gronk did. Whether Brady wins or loses in Tampa Bay, you understand that Gronk came back for like this one purpose. I'm here to help Tom. It didn't work out. No one's going to hold that against him. And same thing with Witten. Witten's been a Cowboy his whole career. Just because you come back to try to help the Cowboys and you don't win, like no one's holding that against the retired tight end.
I don't understand the team change at all, but I don't see him playing after the season. Regardless of what happens, I do not see him playing again.
I think the Raiders
he didn't want to unretire for one season.
I think the Raiders are a legitimate threat.
I think they are too. I think who's that QB now?
I mean,
it's the same guy, right?
Derek Carr.
Yeah, I think Carr is good. I've always thought he was good.
I don't think he's bad, but I don't know if he's a franchise quarterback.
I think he's a franchise quarterback. I think Carr
really. Wow. Yeah. Okay. Well,
yeah.
You might have to defend that position a little bit.
I just love the difference of I think he's good. I think he's good. And he's like, I don't think he's bad.
Nah, dude. Don't get me wrong. Derek Carr makes mistakes, but
I'd rather have Andy Dalton over Derek Carr.
Are you serious? Are you out of your fucking mind, dude? Derek Carr is like I'm gotta throw your man down a shaft, a mine shaft. He's like a Philip Rivers, dude. He's a guy that can look like a fucking.
This is real.
He's a guy that can look like a football savant at times, and then there's another game where he throws for 1 TD and 3 interceptions. Like it happens, you know. I like Derek Carr. I don't know.
I mean, this is holy ground that you tread upon with this Derek
Okay.
Carr nonsense.
Okay.
but I don't think he's. I mean, what have the Raiders done since Derek Carr has been at the reins?
They became competitive. I'll tell you that.
I know.
much.
I think it was the coach, that Gruden.
It goes the coach.
I think.
Okay.
Well, I mean, you can argue that they haven't really had a return on wins with Gruden,
Okay.
but I feel like he's setting a culture there, like a culture. That's why he was such a coach that was so many teams wanted him to come out of. Like, stop announcing on TV and be our coach. It wasn't just the Raiders that were looking for him; it was multiple teams. But I feel like he's done a good job of rebuilding, except for Derek Carr. And only because I feel like the jury's still out on Derek Carr. He reminds me of Jacoby Brissett. I'm not sure that's the correct way to pronounce his name, but he was the quarterback before Philip Rivers got there in Indianapolis. He had flashes where he was clutch. He had flashes where he was solid. Then he had, not so hot moments, and he got injured, and then he didn't play the rest of the year. So
okay. So to defend my position on Carr, and I will. I think the Oakland Raiders, now the Vegas Raiders, when they get him, his first 2 or 3 years, he definitely revitalized that team. Like he probably put up his best numbers his second year, I think. And then he definitely had a slump. Don't get me wrong. I think I'm looking at his stats right now.
It seemed like a confidence thing more than anything.
It might have been. I think it was almost like he was like this. Hey, you can bring Oakland to greatness, and for a while he did because he's young, and I think the young guys aren't scared. And then when what's expected of you, you might buckle a little bit. But his first 3 years, I mean, his stats lines are pretty stacked, and then he definitely his 4th year, he has his highest interception count, and his 5th year in 2008. 17 and 18 were pretty rough.
But you know where
that's kind of a weird 4 and 5th year slump. I think it's kind of weird. It's usually but
isn't that
second or third because they have the push on you.
The sophomore slump, but that's your paycheck slump also. Now all of a sudden Derek Carr is getting paid, and you can't afford the help around him. You see it happen with teams all the time.
Okay, yeah.
But look at so 2019 season, highest QB rating at 100, most yards, most 70% completion and average, his highest average. So all of his stats are trending up very well going into this new season. I really don't think he's the problem on that team, because we've seen him throw for, fucking 30 TDs a season. Like, that's something he used to do quite well. Like, that's really all you need. I mean, you put a defense around that guy in a running game, I think Carr has what it takes to bring that team. I just don't think that he's the problem. I think Carr is a fairly competent quarterback.
Oh, I'll agree with you there. I can meet you in the middle and say that he's not the problem. But
which is again, I hate to. Rivers might be better, but it's the same thing. Like, Rivers has the same problem Carr has, is they can't drag a team to a win. But if you put people around them, I think that's what makes them a playoff team.
That's the one place where I will definitely defend Philip Rivers. If you look at all these high-profile ex-Chargers, Junior Seau, Darren Sproles, Drew Brees, Rodney Harrison, these are all Super Bowl winners that left. They won the Super Bowl after they left the Chargers. For some reason, I don't know if it's a curse. I don't know if it was, some sort of stigma. But whenever Chargers players that are prolific leave, they tend to have massive success for however short of a time span that they have on other teams. I don't know why. I don't know what it is. But I think Phillip Rivers is going to be very successful in Indy. And that's
Yeah,
and it might
he
seem
had
biased for sure because I like Phillip Rivers a lot.
no.
But I think that's just the way it always happens to Chargers. It always happens to these ex-Chargers. They leave and have massive success.
I have always held Rivers kind of to like the Tony Romo standard of he's a guy that can get it done. You just have to have the personnel around him. And don't get me wrong, he's coming off of arguably his worst season.
Mm-hmm.
Fucking going back like 10 years. I mean, it was a bad season, but it was a bad season because your team just moved. No one. What are they now? The LA fucking Chargers. You don't have an identity.
It was gonna be bad regardless.
Yeah, you don't have an identity. You don't really have a team. And the Colts, for a gunslinger like Rivers, is probably one of the, if not like the best fit in the league for him. Short of him going to like, he's not going to Green Bay. He's not going to the Saints because these people don't need quarterbacks. But in terms of like a team built for a throwing quarterback, yeah, there's no better landing spot that he could have had.
I wanted Carolina, honestly.
Yeah.
Because the Christian McCaffrey, he reminds me of his play style a lot like LaDainian Tomlinson. So I was thinking to myself, man, how great would that be if, this is kind of like a second shot with the team, from 2006. But I mean, even LaDainian Tomlinson, when he left the Chargers, went on to the Jets. They beat the Steelers in the playoffs. Wait, I forget if they beat the Steelers or the Patriots in the playoffs. I think they beat both of them actually. But yeah, we'll see what happens.
Yeah, it'll definitely be an interesting season minus the.
It's gonna be an interesting season if we have a season.
Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying. I really think the NFL is going to have a season, even if they have to have a season without fans. They're gonna figure something out. It's the NFL. They're going to play football games. And so whether we're sitting here talking about a football season without fans in the stadium, or our fans are there, whatever, the football will be interesting and the situation will be interesting. And yeah, there's a lot of teams to follow this year. I'll definitely be watching the Colts simply because Rivers there. I'll be, we're all going to be watching Tampa Bay now. So
yeah,
and we're going to be watching people who hated New England are going to be watching New England just to see.
I don't even know that
what it looks like without Brady.
Who gives a shit? I'm not tuning into that garbage. Like, why would I tune in to the Patriots without Tom Brady? I hate to say that. I mean, yeah, they have Julian Edelman, but
no, because you're gonna root for
Fossil.
You're gonna root for Tampa to lose, and you're gonna root for the Patriots to win.
You think I'm not rooting against Tampa Bay, dude. I'm pulling for Tampa.
Really?
Man. I want to, dude. I don't know that I want to see him win a ring, but I want to see him in the playoffs with that team. 100%.
I hope my dream scenario is that the Bucks implode and the Patriots implode. I would love to see both parties just be like, "We made a mistake." That would be fantastic. I don't. Maybe I'm vengeful, spiteful, because the Patriots screwed over my Chargers multiple times in the AFC playoffs. But I don't know. I just feel like the last thing that those two ego monsters need is a leg up.
There's going to be a lot of salty fans on both sides in every division this year. That's a fact.
I want to see the Saints go to the championship, and I want to see them fucking lose again. I really don't like the Saints.
What?
And look, I want to see them lose. I just want to see. No, I want to see him lose legitimately because I'm so fucking tired of all these Saints. Look, we live in Texas. Yeah, we live in Texas, so we're
And by
30.
the way, Des did
Yeah.
catch that.
We're
He really
okay.
did.
So moving on. So we're not getting on conspiracy theories again.
It was a
so-
good attempt. I'll give you that. It was a good
Des
attempt.
caught it. Des
Okay,
caught it.
well that was okay. So yeah, like what are you talking about? You're talking about like the Vietnam War. Okay, it's gone. It's over.
Yeah, but we
Um,
still live. We still
and then
live with the results.
do we? I think But anyway, all I was gonna say was Saints fans just they cannot accept that they haven't won the last 2 Super Bowls. And I hear this shit all the time. And it's because we get fucking cheated. It's because we get fucking cheated.
It's
I
the
just want to see them.
refs. It's the
I want to see them
refs.
lose. Yeah, I just want to see them lose. And they do lose, but it's this catch and that catch. And again, look, it's fucking football. Sometimes Des Bryant catches the fucking ball and they don't call it, and you lose the football game. And those players will tell you, I should have done more so that the whole game didn't hinge on me catching one fucking ball. Like,
That's true.
Well, you know how you had talked about how things are going to change. The season's going to be different. I wonder how establishments that make lots of money, like bars, restaurants,
people will watch the product. I'm worried about like the stadiums. Those stadiums cost a lot of money. I mean, how are you playing in stadiums when you have no ticket sales? Like, how are these places getting revenue?
I mean, I'm sure they'll figure like through viewership or something like that. But I mean, are people like gonna come out and support? Like I know around here, like if you go to one of the local bars on a Sunday or something like that, it's typically packed. There's money being exchanged, drinks are flowing.
Yeah.
Is
I
that
can't see that
is that
changing.
going to happen this time?
Yeah. I mean, what's the difference? The product is still on the TV. Most bars don't even put the sound on.
Mhm.
Some do. Some heavy sports bars kind of get you into that football atmosphere, but a lot of
Yeah.
places don't even do that. It's just on the screen. The plays will be happening the same. You're just not going to have like audience shots. And let's be realistic. I mean, probably 95% of the people that are watching the NFL are not going to the games. Like it is a product you watch on TV.
I wonder.
I don't think it's the new model by any means, but it's definitely a sustainable model for 1 year.
I mean, does that mean that they don't even need cheerleaders then? Like, who are they
No,
cheering to?
absolutely. Yeah, no, you don't need them for this year. No. Cheerleaders don't even get paid fucking good wages anyways. So
I
what
mean,
they make like 200 or
You would-
$300 a game. It's nothing.
I just
It's still the cheerleaders, in my opinion, they're basically it's a TV prop anyways. Who actually attends the games and pays
Yeah.
attention to the cheerleaders because
They
they're off.
look like ants. So
Yeah, exactly. You can
we're
barely see
poor,
them when
by
they're
the
off to
way.
the side,
So-
and the whole point is there's a camera facing them. It's for television.
Oh, look, yeah, a pretty woman, and then here's your crowd behind you. Yeah, it's like a money shot. Wow, look at this. Look at this big spectacle.
It's
But
not for the people actually attending the game. So you
Yeah.
could still technically have cheerleaders.
I think it's
that
I
would
think
look
it's
so
silly.
ridiculous, though.
Yeah, it looks silly. People dancing for nothing. Like you don't have to have them. I mean,
They're trying to cheer the team, Jason.
yeah, that's not what it's for.
What if, like-
It's not, but that's the whole fake like mythos behind it.
Like, could you see every referee in every NFL game wearing like an N95 mask? You know what I mean? Like that would be
they wear those workout breathing
Yeah,
masks.
yeah, but
so,
those don't count. Those like
Sure, they do.
in
It's
the
the same
age of
thing.
Corona.
Yeah,
It's
there are
supposed to-
there are filters and stuff.
It's supposed to help your cardio in the gym, so when you're not wearing it, you do better. So just make your players wear that, and then just make them wear N95 masks. Fuck it. Or just take a play out of Adam's book. Just give them all Corona. Fuck it.
Oh gosh.
Survival of what?
XFL.
Yeah, if your cornerback can't handle Corona, man, I'm sorry, he wasn't cut out for the NFL. He was a college quarterback. Okay, he was never gonna make it in the NFL.
God, the XFL, the carnival sideshow.
Well,
Oh gosh.
Well, I don't want to dig back into fucking
XFL.
Corona for another week in a row. maybe we'll talk about it next week because all the states going to be reopening, so we'll have something to discuss.
Yeah, they did extend it. Just on that last note, I do know it was supposed to be like it probably would have been worth talking about had they been opening, but I think a lot of places did push it back to like May 14th. So at least Texas did.
I'm happy to hear. I'm happy to hear that at least. Do y'all have anything else that off the top of your heads that you need to?
Nah, let's go play some Green Hell, man.
All right, let's
Hell
go.
yeah! All right, well, that's
Ready
gonna
to
be
get
all
this
this week.
Die of diarrhea.
That's gonna be all this week for Nerdy Drunken Stoned. Please be sure to comment down below, like and subscribe. Bang that bell icon so that you can get updates every week whenever we do a new episode. You can find
I'll never
Mike
not be disgusted.
Jason will never not be annoyed by that statement. You can find Mike at _Renrag.
Yeah, they can just read it.
Yeah, it's right there. It's somewhere, wherever it's at.
And me at XLNXTV on all social media. Thank y'all for watching, and we will see you next week.
Adios.